Hello, this is Roman Gabriel, and you are listening to the Grueling Truth.
Welcome to the Grueling Truth Sports Network's live 2000 NFL Draft Special, brought to you by Clam and Natural Health, Replenishing Care Technologies, MyBookie.ag, and Combat Legend. I'm your host for the live NFL Draft Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host. First up, you know him if you've listened to the Best Available Draft podcast, former coach at South Dakota State, Matt Minich. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, Mike. How you doing?
All right. Don't sound so excited. Now, come on. It's the draft night, man.
I'm trying to hold it, man. I've been going crazy all day.
I mean, this is what you do all this. This is what you watch all that film for. Come on. You got to get ready. I bet the guys from FF Face-Off will be ready. Our newest addition to the NFL family at the Grueling Truth is the FF Face-Off, which you can find on YouTube, of course, on thegruelingtruth.net. First up, let me introduce to you Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
Pretty good, Mike. How are you?
All right. Other than I'm still trying to figure out why somebody would be a Cowboys fan. And next up, we've got your partner in crime at the FF Face-Off. Help me welcome to the show, Dan Siegel. How you doing, Dan? You there, Dan?
Hopefully there'll be a lot of deals here coming up soon. I'm here.
All right. So let's start off. The first round starts in about 12 minutes. Let's get your take on the number one pick and what you think Cleveland might do. We'll start off with Matt.
For the last several weeks, it was Sam Darnold, and I wake up this morning and all of a sudden it's Baker Mayfield. So there's a smoke screen somewhere. You know, whether it's the last several weeks they were trying to get somebody to trade up to get Darnold, or it's this morning that they're trying to get somebody to move. At some point they weren't telling the truth. My instinct tells me that Cleveland is known for making bad decisions at the quarterback position, and I got Baker as my number one quarterback, so I got to think they're going Sam Darnold.
All right, Anthony, what's your take?
Yeah, with all the rumors going around, with the latest, like Matt said, about Baker Mayfield, I'm not buying Mayfield to the Browns. I have Josh Allen going to Cleveland at the first overall pick.
All right, Dan, what's your take?
You know, for weeks I thought it would be Allen, and then today with the tweets coming out from, his teenage years, it's a PR nightmare for anybody, especially up front, that wants to take that off the board. Baker Mayfield, people have compared him to Johnny Manziel, so why not Cleveland? They already went Johnny 1.0. Why not go Johnny 2.0?
So you don't think there's any difference between Manziel or Mayfield, or are you just talking about attitude, or what?
I'm more on board with Baker than I was with Johnny. People look at Mayfield's cockiness, and that's the tie that they go with Manziel. Mayfield on the field, he hasn't had as much off-field issues as Manziel did, even in college. I think Mayfield is a winner. Whether that'll translate to the NFL game remains to be seen, but I give him a better shot than I ever gave Manziel.
Yeah, and when we look at this, the thing that bothers me is we're looking at a guy, we're trying to tear him down at Josh Allen, who everybody loved, his attitude in his interviews, Anthony, and we're going back to something he tweeted when he was 14 or 15 years old.
Yeah, this reminds me of what happened a few years ago with Laramie Tunsil when it was a few picks before he was about to be taken. The reports came out with the gas mask, and for me, I think it was done by an agent or a team leaked it. Somebody leaked that about Josh Allen with the hopes of him sliding.
How about this? What if Cleveland leaked it? And they are going to pick him at 4, and they're going to take Saquon Barkley at 1.
Is anybody buying the fact, and I know we talked about this off air, Mike, that the Cleveland Browns could potentially take a quarterback with both of their early picks at 1 and 4?
It's the Cleveland Browns. So I think when we look at the fact that it's the Cleveland Browns, Matt, I think anything's possible.
I mean, that'd definitely be interesting. Adding 2 names in 1 year to that jersey.
Well, what about this, Matt? What if they don't take either and they go Saquon Barkley and Bradley Chubb? To me, if you want to build a team, that may be the quickest way to do it, because when I look at every one of these quarterbacks, I'm like you. I like Mayfield the best, but there's nobody here that stands out like an Andrew Luck or a John Elway or a Ben Roethlisberger.
No, there isn't a clear-cut guy. And I think Rosen and Darnold were kind of right in the fringe of that, but definitely not there. I mean, it's tough because that position is so important, and they passed up on the chance at Wentz. They passed up on the chance at Watson. At some point, you got to cash in your chips, and you got to go for it. And I think that's why they got a new general manager. So, I mean, they got Tyrod. You can win games with Tyrod if you put some stuff around him. But I just don't buy that they're going to pass up on it again.
All right, now when we look at this draft, and I'll start with Dan on this one, who would be your top 3 players? Not talking about, what quarterback you're going to pick, but if you had to give me your 3 best players in this draft right now, Dan, who would be your 3 guys?
Well, obviously you can't start that list without mentioning Saquon Barkley. I don't think he's going to be, he's not a Zeke Elliott. He's not a workhorse that you're going to give the ball, 25, 30 rushes a game, but he can do a lot of things. He can carry the ball. He can catch out of the backfield. You can put him out, as a returner. He's the most dynamic player on the offensive side of the ball in this draft, so I'd go him. Quentin Nelson is the best O-lineman in this draft, in a draft that isn't very deep at O-lineman, so he's got to be at the top of the board. And if he slides past the top 5, I think teams are just being stupid and caught up in the QB hype. And then I'd round out with Bradley Chubb. He's the best pass rusher in this draft. And, again, he's a top 5 pick.
All right, Matt Minich, who would be your top 3?
I mean, I've got to agree with you on the first 2. Saquon and Quentin Nelson, both great picks. With Nelson, I mean, he's just a dominant performer. You watch his tape, and he's so far above anybody else in that O-line class. I mean, you got to go with him. It can't be really said enough. With Saquon, you see the impacts that getting that kind of running back can have on a team. And what they did with Ezekiel Elliott, with the Cowboys, and how that quickly turned around. Obviously, there are some other things going on there too. But those are definitely 2 guys that really stick out. I'm not as big on Chubb as everybody else is. I like him, but I don't see him as a top of the board guy. I don't think he's got that Myles Garrett elite talent at that level to be really a truly elite pass rusher. I think he's going to have a very good career. I just don't see him as a top 5 kind of guy. To me, I would lean more towards probably Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think his versatility and being able to play that slot corner position is really, really becoming an extremely important position in the NFL. And now that substitution packages are really what your base defense is, he's a top end player, and I think getting that defensive back in there, they can do a lot of things for you and can match up and play in that slot position. I think that's really valuable.
All right, Anthony.
The number 1 player on my board is Quentin Nelson, and I just fall more and more in love with this kid every time I see his tape. I know some experts out there are comparing him to Larry Allen, and we all know what Larry Allen did in the NFL. He was a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and that's what I believe Quentin Nelson is. Number 2 is going to be Saquon Barkley. He could be the most talented player, skilled player in this draft. But in history, in the past 20 years, Penn State running backs, for whatever reason, don't translate to the NFL, but that's all superstition. Saquon Barkley is definitely the number 2 best player in this draft. And 3rd on my list is Sam Darnold. He's the most complete quarterback in this draft who can play now. Most USC quarterbacks that come out, they are ready, but they don't translate. Look what happened with Mark Sanchez after a few years, and the last real USC quarterback that paid off was Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I would agree. I would disagree with Sam Darnold big time. I think he's got to go somewhere where he gets a year or two to get ready. I think he's not ready to play in the NFL yet, but I do think 5 years from now he might be the best guy out of all this group. If I had to list my three, I would go with Matt. Other than the fact I would switch number one, I think Quentin Nelson is the best offensive guard I've seen since John Hanna. And if you can get a John Hanna, he's worth picking him immediately if you can get him. I think after that, I think you have to go with Barkley. I would take Barkley over Ezekiel Elliott, and I would do that just because if you watch that Iowa game and the block he made, picked up the blitz, McSorley throws the touchdown pass, he literally can do everything. And my number three, I think, would be Minkah Fitzpatrick also. With Bradley Chubb, the thing I see there, Anthony, is I think he plays a little stiff and straight up from time to time.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think he could fall.
Yeah, I think he could, but I think people are going to fall in love with the athletic ability. And I don't know about you, Matt, but to me, the position, especially as a Bengal fan, because I've seen a lot of them fail, especially 20 years ago, starting off with Big Daddy Wilkinson. But the thing that I fear with him is it seems like the most busts to me come from that defensive line position a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is when they when you draft those guys, a lot of times we're looking purely at athletic talent, and you look at the Myles Garrett body type, and they really project that guy strongly. Although they've got something you can't teach, they're not always able to pick up everything you can. One good thing about Chubb is that he does use his hands really well, and he's able to bend down the line. So I think he's above a lot of those guys in terms of being a bust, in that he's got some pass rush moves already put together, where some of the guys coming out don't necessarily have that, don't use their hands very well. So I don't really see him as a guy that's going to be a bust. I just don't see him as being a top of the league, maybe not even necessarily a number one pass rusher for a team. I think you want a guy that's going to be better than him, and I don't know how high his ceiling is.
Yeah, I agree with you. Real quick, I want to tell everybody, if you want, you can also go over to Spreaker.com, punch into Grueling Truth Sports Network, and you can actually make comments. You can chat with us during the draft. We'll give you a shout-out. We'll answer your questions live on air. Also tonight, we will have a few commercials from paid sponsors, but we will also have some commercials from different shows. So make sure you listen to those, because we got a lot of great shows, whether it's boxing, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. We cover almost everything here at the Grueling Truth. But real quick, we're going to take a break for about 2 minutes, and then we'll be back right after this message.
Hey, Puckheads, this is Patrick.
And Jason.
From the Puck Guys podcast at the Grueling Truth Network, and we're here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money.
The Grueling Truth has partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag.
In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and MyBookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on your first deposit of up to $3,000 in extra cash. Just enter the promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Where do they got to go, Jay?
That is a smart-looking question, Pat. They need to go to visitmybookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy your winning today.
MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com. All right, guys, we're back on the gruelingtruth.net, and I guess, are the Browns on the clock yet? I wasn't even looking. Guys, we all here?
Yeah, we're back.
All right, here we go. So I don't think they've introduced Roger Goodell so we could boo him yet, so I don't think they're ready there. So let's go to Dan first here. Dan, what do you think will be the biggest surprise of this draft, whether it's player picked or a trade possibly?
I think it'll be trade. I know there's a lot of hype around the Giants moving it too. I don't buy it based off of Gettleman's, interviews the last week or so. He seems pretty locked in on the pick. So unless somebody just comes with a massive deal here, like Denver or maybe Buffalo, although I think Buffalo's too far back for them to slide, I don't see the Giants moving the pick. I think, though, somebody in the AFC East, whether it's Buffalo, Miami, or even New England, they're going to move. And I think that's going to be the big move, is who's going to be that team. Because obviously Buffalo's first. They go right ahead of Miami, and then New England's back. Somebody's going to try and leapfrog somebody. That's going to shake up the draft. The AFC East is where I'm looking at as far as the shakeup.
Yeah, I agree with the AFC East, Matt, and the New England Patriots would be the team I'd watch for because they've got 2 picks there to play with.
Yeah, being overly aggressive in the draft isn't really Belichick's style, and everybody expects him to take a quarterback, to go up and make a move at Rosen, or to go up and make a move at Lamar Jackson. Living in New England, that's the big sports radio hot take all week this week. I just don't buy it. Belichick's all about value, and I think they're going to get 2 good players in the first round. Probably an O-lineman and a DB because those are their bigger needs, and possibly linebacker is also a big need for them. And I really think that they're going to wait on the quarterback, and they're going to get one where it's a good value, and if Mason Rudolph is available in the second round, they've got the 49ers pick in the second round, so that's not too far for them to be able to get him at. Other than that, I think they're gonna wait a little bit and go more for maybe a Chase Litton. I know Kyle Lauletta's the popular one because he's an FCS guy, and I think he played lacrosse, and his dad played at Navy or something. All these things that Belichick loves. He's kind of the hot take guy, but I think they probably wait and get a better value on it somewhere else.
All right, Anthony, real quick, I'm going to change it up with you real quick. And
okay.
That is this. I think that this is one of the weakest wide receiving classes in a long time. I don't think more than 1 or 2 wide receivers is going to go in this first round.
Yeah, I agree with that. I only see 2 wide receivers going in the first round, and that is Ridley and James Washington. But I don't think it's a very strong class at all. And in recent years, you can think it's Amari Cooper and Odell Beckham were really the last 2 first-round wide receivers that panned out. Everyone else were busts. And Amari Cooper's not even doing well right now. He's regressing.
Yeah, so...
Look at John Ross last season, a 9th overall pick by your Bengals.
Yeah, but it wasn't John Ross's fault. It was Marvin Lewis's fault. Marvin didn't want to pick him, and Marvin didn't use him. And I think if Marvin uses John Ross this year, I think you'll see why John Ross was there. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a plan for him this year. That was a joke, the way things went. There was the injury situation, but even in spite of that, when he was a healthy scratch, I know they're their receivers coach left on his own terms, but that guy should have been canned for not having him ready to go when he came back.
Well, and the bad thing about that was James Urban, right?
Yes.
Who is now a quarterbacks coach in Baltimore.
That's correct. So
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're right. But that last year, all three of those guys didn't really do anything. All three of the top guys with Mike Williams and Corey Davis thrown in there. I think Zay Jones, was the next one taken at the top of the second round. He didn't do anything. You got to go all the way down to Juju before you find somebody that really did anything the first year. And Pittsburgh was really smart with him. They didn't ask him to do anything right away. They taught him. They let him learn. They put him in there when he was ready. And he also didn't need to be a number one guy also on that team, obviously. So, but I agree. I think Ridley's going to go at some point. I don't think James Washington. I think it's more likely to be somebody that wasn't really talked about early on. One of these faster guys like a DJ Moore or a Michael Gallup, I could see sliding in there. Maybe even at the very end of the Eagles, I could see them going out and getting a new toy for Carson Wentz at the end of the first round. But yeah, definitely, no more than probably one or two going in this round, and they're not going to go high like they did last year. I definitely think Calvin Ridley could be early 20s even.
Yeah, and my other problem with this whole thing is this. It's after 8 o'clock at night, and they still haven't started this draft. And
no, they are on the clock.
They're on the clock? Okay.
As of like 60 seconds ago.
Anything after 8 o'clock, this thing should be started at 7 o'clock. I know they're trying to, cater to the West Coast people too, but this thing's not going to be over till midnight. But since they're on the clock, we got to have everybody's pick. So we'll start off with Matt. Matt, where do you think Cleveland goes?
I'm going with Darnold. I think they said it early. It was out there early. I think they stick with that.
All right, Anthony.
I'm going to stick with Josh Allen.
Okay, Dan.
Well, we've all got to be different here, so I'll buy into the hype. I'll go with Baker.
You're going with Baker. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go with the Josh Allen Anthony pick because, it's Cleveland. So you don't think they're going to pick him now because this happened. So I think they're going to go Josh Allen. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a trade. When you look at this, does anybody here think there's a possibility that they don't go quarterback?
No.
No,
definitely not.
No chance? Because this is a team that desperately needs offensive linemen, and especially losing Joe Thomas. To me, if it's me, I want to make sure I get Quentin Nelson. But it's the Cleveland Browns. Like I said, I wouldn't even go with a quarterback here because I don't think there's one worth a first or a fourth round or a fourth pick. But I do believe Baker Mayfield is the most ready to play in a game right now. And the thing here, Matt, you brought up his size. Does 6 foot bother you?
No, not really. You've seen some guys have some success at that, and I don't really see it as being a major problem. He had big linemen in college. He had Orlando Brown in front of him. He had no problem seeing over him. And I think that stuff can be overplayed to some extent.
All right. So real quick, I don't know what we're looking at. You said it started a couple minutes ago. Yes, 8 minutes, 44 seconds. They'll be on the clock. The thing that's really unique to this whole thing, Dan, is the fact that usually the first guy or the first team usually already has this guy signed coming in. I don't remember the last time we really had this much anticipation with who the first pick was going to be.
I think the fact that, especially with them having 2 of the top 5 picks and Dorsey and the new regime in, it all played into Cleveland's favor because we all think of Cleveland and, whatever they're going to do, they're going to screw it up. So no matter how many names get floated out, you can find a way to puzzle piece them all together with Cleveland because it's Cleveland. So whether you hear Mayfield this morning, Darnold a week ago, Allen a month ago, coming into, and like you said, we're now 7 minutes away, they all make sense because at the end of the day, it's Cleveland.
Yeah, and nobody has a clue what Cleveland's going to do, and Cleveland probably doesn't even know right now. I know they do have a real GM, but it seems like even when they get real people there running their team, they seem to all of a sudden become basketball guys or something. When we look at the Cleveland Browns, and this is the thing that scares me the most about them, Matt, is if you draft a quarterback in here, you're sending him to a place where the quarterback's coach is Ken Zampese, who knows nothing about coaching a quarterback. I've talked to him on numerous occasions. I think the guy is completely clueless. You're putting him with Todd Haley, who couldn't get along with basically a future Hall of Fame quarterback. So that's what scares me the most here with this whole situation.
You know, I've taken some heat on Twitter for this, but to me, Baker Mayfield, my comp for him is Ben Roethlisberger. You know, the guy that Todd Haley couldn't get along with. You know, I think a lot of things about his game, about how he plays, and about his attitude, have got Roethlisberger written all over him. So it doesn't seem like it would be a great mesh to get Baker into that situation. But yeah, I mean, you know, in general, Cleveland's kind of the perfect storm. You know, there's nothing that can't go wrong around there, and it's going to be it's going to be a rough deal. It's probably going to be something similar to what happened with Goff, where you know, whoever they're drafting is probably for the next guy.
Yeah, and probably in week 5.
My early prediction is Todd Haley might be the head coach of that team before they get a win. So,
God, does that make it better or worse?
I don't know. At least he had a couple in Kansas City.
Yeah, he did make the playoffs there one time, I believe.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's better than 1 in 2 years anyway.
Yeah. So right now, Dan, or let's go to Anthony real quick. You're a Cowboys fan. What do you think the Cowboys are doing tonight?
I know everybody's thinking wide receiver, but like we said before, this is a pretty weak class. There's not a lot of first-round wide receivers there. I'd like to see the Dallas Cowboys go linebacker and get somebody to step in there. They lost Anthony Hitchens in free agency to the Kansas City Chiefs, and you don't know what's going on with Jalen Smith's knee, and you don't know if Sean Lee can stay healthy. When Sean Lee is healthy, that defense is a top 5 unit. When Sean Lee is out, they're a bottom 5 unit. They need to plug that hole. When Sean Lee goes down, they need that next guy to step in. I see them going Rasheed Evans.
Rasheed Evans? Okay, the linebacker out of Alabama.
Yes.
Dan,
I think that's pretty interesting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, Dallas to me is one of 2 teams that I think are going to have a choice to make. They're going to either take Calvin Ridley, and it's the Packers and the Cowboys. To me, the Packers and the Cowboys are both going to have a chance at Calvin Ridley, and they're both going to have a chance at a defensive player that is way too good to be on the board right when they get to him. So, I mean, I like Rashaan Evans, and I've been, you know, pretty adamant about that, and I put him up at the same level. You know, I think he's in the same tier as Roquan Smith, but they might even be able to do better than that. I mean, there's going to be some really top end talent available at that linebacker position and defensively in general when it gets to them because of what's going on with the quarterback position. You know, things are going to slide. There's going to be some really good defensive players available for them at that spot, just like the Packers at 14.
Yeah, I think everybody in the middle to the bottom of the first round is going to benefit from this tonight too, Dan. And you've got a lot of teams that are borderline 7-9, 8-8 teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that may get something tonight that puts them over the top just because of all the other teams grabbing them for quarterbacks.
Well, look at my team, the Giants, at number 2. 2 years ago, this was a playoff team. Last year, Odell misses most of the year. They got nothing from Brandon Marshall, and now they're picking at number 2. You know, my thing is, and I know people, you know, say that Eli is washed up and, you know, this is why they need to pick a quarterback. If I'm the Giants, and I've been banging the drum for them to trade the pick, but I don't think Gettleman's going to do that, I take Quentin Nelson. If Eli has an O-line, something he hasn't had in seemingly a decade. If Eli has an O-line where he doesn't have to get rid of the ball in 3 seconds like Ben McAdoo wanted him to do, Eli can make that team move, and maybe they'll actually score over 30 points for once. So, that's the team, when we're talking about borderline teams that can make a jump. The Giants are, like I said, 2 years removed from being a playoff team. Odell back, maybe they get Dez, who knows? But give Eli an O-line, and let's see what he can do for real.
Yeah, I agree with you. And real quick, David from Chicago tells everybody hi. And, of course, says it's Christmas for the NFL tonight. And, I mean, this has gotten to the point, Anthony, where this is dang near as big as the Super Bowl for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. And I was just thinking about this the other day, is to just sit back and you see there's 2 days worth of NFL draft coverage. I mean, it's really humongous. That's the word for what the NFL is right now.
Yep. Here we go. Their pick is in, but now they're going to wait 2 minutes before they show it.
Whoa. Baker Mayfield.
There you go. Unfortunately.
There you go, 1 for 1.
Unfortunately, I'm a Bengals fan. I don't want any part of Baker Mayfield, to tell you the truth.
No, right. I mean, but this is a great pick for them.
I think it is too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a top quarterback on my board, and I think he's the most able, in terms of his personality and the way he plays and kind of the grit in his game to handle being in a tough situation and, and not necessarily having the best coaching or having the best O-line now with Joe Thomas out. I mean, this is the best possible move they could have made. And as a Bengals guy, I absolutely hate that we have to see this guy twice a year.
Well, and to me, when I look at this, it makes the next pick, to me, pretty easy for them. I take Quentin Nelson.
It's going to, as a Giant fan, again, listen, Gettleman said he likes to work from the inside out, which is why everybody who thinks Barkley is the guy, I don't think that's it. So, yeah, Nelson or Chubb, I think, would be the guy. And, we talked about Chubb earlier, and we said how, we don't think he's an elite pass rusher. I liken him to who the Giants just got rid of, JPP. When JPP had Michael Strahan and O.C. Umenyiora on the other side, JPP was an elite guy. When JPP was on his own, he was a middle-tier guy. That's the way I look at Chubb. If Chubb's linked with somebody on that opposite end, he can be an elite guy. If he's on his own, he'll be a mid-tier guy.
Yeah, and I just don't see why you would take a guy you got to have linked with somebody in the top 5 picks.
Oh, trust me, I don't want Chubb to be the pick. I'm purely basing it off of how Gettleman sounded here over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, to me,
go
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you hear these rumors that the one quarterback that Gettleman likes is Darnold. As a guy that's more tied in with the Giants than the rest of us, are you getting that vibe at all? That since Darnold wasn't the pick to the Browns, that could be the direction they go.
I don't think if they go quarterback, they've hidden it extremely well. They haven't given any signs to wanting a quarterback. Not to mention, let's not forget they still have Davis Webb, and Gettleman hasn't seen him, and they've only had a few days to work with. But not only have the players in that room talked up Davis Webb, but the reviews over the last few days from the people that have watched have talked up Davis Webb. I think they have more faith in Davis Webb than people realize, which is why I don't think they're that quick to pull the trigger on a QB here.
Yeah, and I think the problem is if you pick a quarterback, you've still got so many holes in this team that I think that it will make Eli Manning a one and done and retired before he's done, because I don't see how this is going to work out where they're going to have any shot to be a playoff team in that division. There's definitely not going to have a chance to win that division with the Eagles in there. So, Dan, to me, I think a quarterback is basically committing to 2 or 3 years from now.
Not to mention, okay, if you draft a quarterback, how many teams carry 3 quarterbacks on their roster? So what, are you cutting Davis? Are you cutting Davis Webb without ever seeing him? Are you going to move Eli Manning a year after you had a chance to when you didn't, and you just blew that whole thing there for the last month? It just doesn't make logical sense on many, many, many points.
Yeah, So real quick, we're at the second pick with the New York Giants, assuming there's no trade. Dan, it's your team. Who you got them taking?
I don't. It makes sense, and I really want this to be the pick, so I'll stick with it. Quentin Nelson.
Quentin Nelson. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley. Matt?
Yeah, I like Saquon Barkley too if there's not a trade.
All right. Anthony?
I'm going to stick with Quentin Nelson. He's who I had them pegged to take for the past 3 weeks.
All right. I'm hoping you're right on this one because Dan's already pulled in front early on. And I hate to lose. But real quick, while we're waiting for – oh, wait, the Giants pick is in. That was quick.
Oh, okay.
They knew who
Gentleman
they
is
wanted.
very decisive.
It's Saquon Barkley.
There you go. I think we nailed that, Matt.
I mean, yeah, that's a great move for them, and it's something I think it really helps extend Eli's career too. They get another receiving threat other than Odell in there. So now they've got a good receiver, they get a good receiving tight end, they've got a good receiving back. That's something when we were talking about Barkley earlier, we didn't talk about so much, but he's a guy you can split out. Even though he's a bigger guy, you can split him out. He's got he runs some excellent routes. It's not just coming out of the backfield stuff. So he's going to help them out in a lot of ways. That could really help change their offense.
All right, so I forgot. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's not forget they brought in Jonathan Stewart in the offseason too, so they can run a lot of two-back sets, to kind of play off of that. But my concern still is that O-line. Listen, Barkley is the most dynamic player in this draft. I can't hate the pick, but if he doesn't have holes, it's going to be difficult for him to pick up yards.
All right, guys, real quick, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back. The New York Jets are on the clock, and similar to the Cleveland Browns, you never know what the hell is going to happen when the Cleveland Browns or when the New York Jets are on the clock. We'll be back in.
The fans are going to hate it, though.
Yeah, no matter what it is, they could pick Jesus and they would hate it. We'll be back after 1 minute.
Tune in to Game Day IQ for the smartest hour in sports. Test your knowledge of sports trivia on everything from football, basketball, and baseball to cricket, tennis, and hockey to horse racing, auto racing, and soccer, and, of course, the Olympics. Every week, you'll learn tantalizing details of sports' most intriguing conundrums that you can stump your friends with.
Find out what sports figure needs a remedial trip to Coach Buck's bench. Settle in for story time with Uncle Bucky. See if this is the week that I go off on a Category 5 level rant. Learn whose performance on or off the playing surface deserves a special place on this week's pedestal. All that plus a variety of other features that all add up to the most cerebral hour in sports this week. Oh, and you'll have fun too. So raise your Game Day IQ by joining me, host Chris Cook, and
Alan Buck for an informative look at this week in sports right here at thegruelingtruth.net.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth live NFL Draft Special. The New York Jets are now on the clock. We got 7 minutes till they pick. So we're with the Jets. We're going to start off with Anthony, who has got nothing right yet. Anthony, the problem is this. When we have these competitions on the show, if you come in last, you have to sing a song at the end of the show.
Oh, no.
And Matt picks the songs, and Matt loves rap music.
I do. It's a fact. I'll drop the verse for you, though.
There you go. He'll even write you something up. But it is early on, and you're only down
Freestyle.
1. So, Anthony, what do you think the Jets are doing here?
I have the Jets going USA quarterback Sam Darnold.
All right. Anthony goes with Darnold. Matt?
I think it's Darnold, too. I think all of a sudden they're going to look like geniuses for trading up to 3 when they're going to get the guy that was considered by many to be the top guy on the board.
All right. I am going with Sam Darnold also. And I really Baker Mayfield to me right now is the best quarterback in this draft that can play right away. But I think Sam Darnold 3 or 4 years down the road, I just wish he would have stayed at USC one more year. Dan, who do you get the Jets taking?
Yeah, I'm not changing it up here. We're all going with Darnold.
All right. Well, either all be wrong or all be right. which means Anthony's still going to be in last place either way. So what the hell?
Well, that's
a lot more
isn't that
draft
the
to
plan
go.
now?
Huh?
I say the plan now is just to pick what Anthony's pick is, keep him last.
Yeah, we could do that. And then he's got to sing a song like some Public Enemy, Welcome to the Terradome or something. And if it's after midnight, we could do some old 2 Live Crew.
Yeah.
But, all right, so no trades yet, Matt. I mean, is anything going to happen here, you think? Or are the Jets a team that you think would be willing to trade this? I would think not, since they traded up to get it.
I mean, unless Baker Mayfield was a target all along, and now they're feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah,
that would definitely be what it would tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, Mayfield and Allen were the two that were suspected, but maybe Mayfield was the target. But maybe now with Sam Darnold there, that's something they jump at. So it could be that the rug was pulled off from under their feet, or it could be that they stumbled into something even better than what they thought they were going to get.
Now, go ahead.
The Jets were pretty outspoken before the draft in that they felt extremely comfortable at 3. They had many contingency plans if, their 1 and even their 2 were taken ahead of them. So they're not moving from this spot.
Yeah. When I look at this, the only other possibility there is Josh Rosen. And the thing about Josh Rosen that scares me is I think if you put him in Manhattan, you would have major trouble, Dan.
Not just that. I think he's brittle. Okay.
He's been hurt a lot.
I was going to say, you really expect Rosen to take a pounding on the field and off of it from the fans? Yeah, I agree with you. That's a mess waiting to happen. Darnold is, he's the prototypical quarterback when you think of as far as size and arm and all that stuff. And whether he's ready or not, we can debate that. But as far as, selling it on day 1, he's your prototypical guy.
Now, the other possibility here could be Josh Allen. I mean, is that totally out? And if it is it because of the tweet, or is it just because they prefer the other guy? Matt?
I don't think it's out of the question. He along with Baker was one of the guys that was mentioned right away when they moved to the spot. The whole tweet thing that came out today, but NFL teams knew about it. And they had to have known about it, and they had to have known that it was going to come out at some point. So if Allen was ever a target for you, you had to have this in the back of your mind and be prepared for the situation. So I don't think that's gonna rule out of being Allen. Either way, neither one of those guys is somebody I want to see playing right away. I don't think he has to in New York. So any one of those guys could be fine in that situation. I kind of see Rosen as actually not too bad of a fit there.
All right, the pick is in. Sam Darnold.
Yep. There we go.
So we're on
Yeah, no surprise here.
Yeah, my worry here is I thought last year, I mean, they had a quarterback that played well until the injuries. They brought him back. I hope they start him. I hope that they just, put Josh McNown in and don't just throw Sam Darnold to the wolves here, Matt.
Yeah, I agree. Sam Darnold's a turnover machine, so they gotta figure out how to, get him to hold onto the ball and take a little bit of care of it when he's throwing it as well. And that's the worst thing you can do for him, I think, is to throw him right out there. I think Todd Bowles is the kind of coach that's going to understand that and take his time with him. And I think they've got a quarterback there that can win him some games, and there won't be pressure to put him on the field right away.
Yeah, and when I look at the Jets with Todd Bowles, I don't know how you feel about him, Dan, but I think Bowles has done a great job being there. You don't always have the best of everything with the Jets. You don't always have the greatest ownership supporting you. I think if they let Bowles just do what he does, I think in the end, I mean, he could have him in the playoffs in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I don't see any way you can criticize the job that he's done. I mean, they were left for dead last year. I mean, people thought they were going to have the number 1 pick coming into this draft, and they were competitive in seemingly every game. Going back to the Darnold point, I think last year is a good point as far as that we shouldn't expect Darnold to play right away. last year they were left for dead, and people were banging the drum to see the likes of Bryce Petty in week 1. Like, why do we need McCown? Why don't we just see what we've got? And he waited, and and all of a sudden they won games, and we didn't see, the likes of Bryce Petty until McCown went down. So Bowles isn't going to feel any pressure to play Darnold week 1. And unless, McCown gets hurt or Darnold just sets the world on fire and goes to Sean Watson on us, I don't see any reason or any chance of Darnold playing week 1.
All right, guys. So we're at Cleveland, who will pick number 4 if there's no trade, which I think this is one of the spots where you can see Buffalo try to jump up. But if Cleveland's going to pick a player here, Anthony, where do you think they go?
The Browns have a lot of holes on their defense, and I think their best opportunity would be going for Minkah Fitzpatrick out of Alabama.
Is that who you think they'll take?
Yes. They need to improve the secondary. It was one of the worst in the league last year. They already have their pass rusher in Myles Garrett that they drafted last year, and now they're going to get their corner.
All right, Anthony? Anthony? All right, we'll go to Matt Minich. Matt.
I'm going Quentin Nelson here. I think you just invested in a quarterback. You got to invest in protecting him. Quentin Nelson's the best player on the board. He was probably the best player on the board when they took their first pick. I don't know how much sense Minkah makes there with some of the acquisitions they've made in the offseason. He's a great player, but I don't see that as being a huge need for them where he could work best as an inside corner. So I would go Quentin Nelson here.
All right. Anthony, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Who you got the Browns taking here?
I already said Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Oh, I got you and Dan mixed up.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, who you got?
You know what? I'm going to go with Chubb. I said earlier about, the JPP comparison and how JPP worked best when he had somebody on the opposite side. You want a dynamic front line there for Cleveland. Garrett and Chubb would be a dynamic duo. So I'll go Chubb.
Yeah, I think they go Chubb or they go Nelson if they pick here. I think you have to go Nelson. It is the Browns, so you never know. But I'm going to say they take Quentin Nelson here. Now my question is, we know what they've done so far. How many games can they win this year, Dan?
Because next time, don't tell somebody you're going to
man, this is tough because it's still Cleveland at the end of the day. I'll cap it at 5. Yeah, I just don't see them making this huge leap. Let us not forget they've won 1 game in 2 years.
Yeah. So maybe the better question is this. By what week do you think they have a new football coach?
We might want to cap that one at week 5, too.
When's their bye, Matt? Do we know when Cleveland's bye is?
I don't know. Their schedule up in front of me.
Yeah, because nobody really cares. Yeah, I still think this is at best a 3 or 4 win team. They may be headed in the right direction. If Mayfield's the real deal, there's no doubt, Matt, that they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I didn't even think they had a bad roster last year. But I think they have really bad coaching. I think Hugh Jackson's been overrated in a lot of different scenarios, and I think this is one of them. I think that's gonna fall out, and Haley or Williams will get it for a little while, but I think it's probably all about the next guy. Probably the next young guy to come up will be the guy that walks into a pretty good situation next year with a pretty solid roster after all the picks they have again this year.
Yeah, as long as they pick the right guy, I think they're in good shape in the long run. Anthony, any thoughts on what the Browns could do this coming year?
I think the Browns are going to be a little bit better than what you guys think. I think they're a 5-6 win team. I think they're going to be more competitive in games. I like Todd Haley. He may be what he is, but he's also a very good offensive coach. They have weapons. They have Tyrod Taylor to kind of fill the gap between Mayfield and, getting into the game. But they are about a year away. I'll agree on that. They could be transitioning like the Jaguars. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars took 2 or 3 good off seasons before they broke out. And I think the same situation is going to pan out for the Browns.
Yeah, and it was
the Jaguars also brought in. Sorry,
Go ahead,
Jaguars also brought in. Jaguars also brought in Tom Coughlin. I don't see Cleveland bringing in anybody of the likes of Tom Coughlin.
But the Jaguars drafted well before Coughlin. They had 2 very good off seasons of drafting.
Yeah, and let's face it, as David from Chicago says, 5 to 6 wins is still pretty awful. But it is great compared to 1 in 2 years.
I was gonna say that's a Super Bowl in Cleveland.
Yeah, they'll have a parade again then if they win 5 or 6 games. And just think if they could beat Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or Baltimore. When's the last time
if they don't win a
game
this year, they're going to throw
Matt?
you Jackson in the lake.
When's the last time they won a division game, Matt?
And the pick is in.
Yep.
Whew. No idea.
Cleveland Browns stay at 4 and select Denzel Ward.
Wow.
It's like nobody had that one.
Yeah, I did. Look at my mock draft I did an hour before this.
I had previously mocked into them.
Yeah, but my problem
sure
is
the NFL
this,
was
Matt.
quite as big on him as I am.
I had him trading with Baltimore, and I had him picking him at number 12, so I guess it's not really the same thing. I think this is a real reach. I mean, we've talked about this before. I worry about the size. I know he's fast, but I think Denzel Ward at number 4 is kind of crazy, man.
They've reached on both of their picks so far.
I don't think Mayfield. Well, any of these quarterbacks is a reach at number 1.
I can't say Mayfield's a reach at 1 because I don't think he would have got past the Jets at 3.
Yeah, but go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, I think that they're coming away with my top-ranked quarterback and my top-ranked cornerback, and in a passing league, that's a pretty impressive haul. Looking at Denzel Ward, the only real knock on him is his height. He had one game, the first game where he was the dude, the beginning of the year where Simi Cobbs made him look pretty bad, and he was matching up on a guy who was a 6'4" guy. So he's not a guy that you want to match up against AJ Green. He's going to have trouble against AJ Green in that division.
If you're picking a guy with the 4th pick in a draft, he's got to be able to match up with AJ Green, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how it's a matchup league, and I think you got to apply that to defense like we apply it to offense. You can not match up every single player with every single guy, and I think that you look at bigger corners. You look at your Stephon Gilmore's, some of the bigger, more physical guys that keep to leave. I think they struggle with guys like Antonio Brown, Denzel Ward. That's going to be a pretty good matchup. That's going to be a very fun game to watch when he's matching up against Antonio Brown, and we got one Roethlisberger against another. I think he matches up well in that situation. They got to make sure that they got the guy on the other side. And I wish now in retrospect, I feel like I should have seen this coming when they dealt Jason McCourty away, that they were going to be going this way early.
Yeah. I still think Fitzpatrick's a better pick if you're going to go that high. He's the guy that can play safety and corner. He can do just about anything.
I think the outside corner is really their biggest need, and I think Denzel's the best outside corner in the draft. He's the best main corner in the draft.
That, and he's a day one starter.
Absolutely.
He's a Cleveland Brown. Everybody that gets drafted in the first 4 rounds is a day 1 starter.
He'll be their best cornerback or best player in the secondary since who? Joe Hayden?
Yeah. They haven't had anybody else, have they?
All right.
All right.
I was going to say, way to go out on a leap there.
Number 5, the Denver Broncos are next on the clock. They got 6 minutes left. We're going to take a quick commercial break for a minute, and we'll be back right after this message.
Hello, boxing fans. I'm Michael Montero of Montero on Boxing. You may have read my work in Boxing Monthly Magazine, Ring Magazine, or their associated websites, maybe Undisputed Champion Network. Maybe you've heard my segments on NBC Sports Radio or any of the other platforms where I do work regularly. I wanted to invite you to check out my podcast, The Neutral Corner. We upload it every Monday. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course at thegruelingtruth.net. Every week we go over the news, the rumors, the latest fights being put together. We analyze everything, give you the business behind the business, and then we review all the action that took place in the ring during the prior week around the world. Not just the big popular fights, but all the fights, including the little guys. And then, of course, we preview the action coming up this week. Again, Michael Montero, The Neutral Corner, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and thegruelingtruth.net.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth Sports Network with our live NFL draft show. Next up, the Denver Broncos. Matt, who you got?
Well, I mean, I said in the last one, the Quentin Nelson was still there. You've been hearing so much stuff coming out of Denver that they're cool with not taking a quarterback. And I mean, you still got one of those Pac-10 guys around. You still got Josh Allen around. I don't see John Elway, who said he's going to keep shooting, keep taking chances at quarterbacks, taking a quarterback here with this opportunity. I'm going to say Rosen. I think one of those Pac-10 guys that's got the NFL army, he's an NFL quarterback. I think that's the kind of guy that Elway wants. I think he's going to Rosen.
All right, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go Josh Allen. Anthony?
I think this is where we're going to see the first trade of the draft. I think Denver is going to make a move and deal the picks to Buffalo. I think Buffalo comes up and gets a quarterback. They're going to get one of the Joshes. I think it's going to be Josh Allen here, and we're going to see Josh Rosen fall.
All right, Dan?
I'll go Rosen. I was going to say, if we're playing the game of, Anthony wants to deal picks away, picks haven't been dealt yet, so I'm going to stick with Elway actually making the pick, and Rosen is the Elway type.
All right, the pick is in for the Denver Broncos, but I guess they're going to wait and tell us after they run some promos here.
So we got 2 for Allen, 2 for Rosen?
Yeah. And
so it's John Elway. We got to build up the mistake.
This is the thing. If it's the trade, then we got to give Anthony 2 points for the trade prediction. That's only fair.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, I just don't see it. I mean, he's got a great arm. He's got all these great things. But when I watched him play, he was so inconsistent, Matt, that it would really make it hard to see him going that high.
It's the Broncos
I think
Hold on.
Bradley Chubb.
I mean, as long as Von Miller's there, it doesn't have to be the guy, I guess. But
Von Miller was at his best when he had DeMarcus Ware on the other side, so this could be deadly.
That's true. That's true. I mean, and that Denver team was run through their defense. Even when Manning was there, it was all about that defense, and they have not been the same lately. So that could make a lot of sense, I guess. I wouldn't have thought about it that way. That's a good point.
Well, I can tell you this. I think everybody in Indianapolis just got extremely pissed off because I think most of them that I know, and I live in Indiana, all wanted him.
I mean, that's got to be the most commonly mock draft, to one team guy all year long, even before and after they traded the spot. And now they got Quentin falling right in their laps, and and a chance to get somebody to maybe keep Andrew Luck healthy if he ever does get healthy and start throwing the football again.
Well, here's my question. We go to the Colts now.
I'll say, who's Andrew Luck?
Andrew Luck's fine.
I was like, who's Andrew Luck? I was like, Andrew Luck is the official spokesperson for Nerf now. Come on.
So you don't like Andrew Luck, I take it?
I hear this all the time.
It's just, come on. We went through last year with he's he's coming back. Oh, well, no, maybe he's not coming back. Oh, well, he hasn't even thrown a real football yet.
No, and we don't know if he's going to be able to, but I think they're assuming that. Put it like this. If they're assuming he's coming back, they're going to pick a Quentin Nelson or they're going to pick a Raquan Smith or somebody like that. If they don't think he's coming back, this could be the surprise. This is where you can see Josh Allen or Rosen or one of those guys go here.
That would certainly be interesting. I mean, Brissett looked all right last year with no team around him. They've got a lot of picks. If you can put a team around Brissett, maybe he can win you some games. Maybe he's not that guy, the franchise guy, but I don't know. I don't know what that's doing for you. I know what it's doing for you long term. I don't know what it's doing for you in the short term, though.
No.
They should be on the phone with Buffalo.
They may be. I mean, that's what I would think right here because you've got three quarterbacks sitting there that would be huge upgrades because Buffalo does not have a quarterback. So Buffalo's got to get a quarterback out of this draft because if they play with A.J. McCarron, they're 4-12. Next up, we've got the Indianapolis Colts. Who do you got them taking, Dan?
You know what? Like I said, if it were me, I'd be on the phone with Buffalo getting as much. Nelson.
Nelson?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Who you got, Anthony?
Quentin Nelson.
Matt?
I already said Nelson.
Yep. I'm going to go Nelson also, I guess. Because they picked it awful quick. So.
Yeah. It is a little surprising that with those two quarterbacks there, they didn't trade. Especially, they want picks. They want picks. They know they got a lot of holes. That they have maybe the worst roster in the NFL. So getting more picks would have been beneficial to them.
Yeah.
Hey, perhaps GMs around the league were listening to the Grueling Truth pre-show. All these quarterbacks are now sliding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, usually this happens. If you don't think they're going to pick them, they pick them. If you do, they don't. Well, come on. If the pick is in, why does it take this long? I'll tell you what, Kirk Herbstreit looks like he uses the same tanning bed that Donald Trump uses. All right. David J. says the Colts are drafting a safety from Chicago. Bobby R. from Fort Wayne, Indiana says that they're taking a safety. And it was Nelson.
Well,
so David J.
Nelson.
NFL Network says they're taking Quentin Nelson, yep.
David J., you were wrong. All right. We all got that one.
Yeah, I mean, with Chubb off the board, it's a no-brainer. I don't know how they would go anybody else unless, like you were saying, unless there was some bad news that nobody knew about Andrew Luck.
All right, real quick, we're going to take a commercial break since they're switching over right now. We will be back after this message.
Hey, this is Dennis Taylor, host of the Ringside Boxing Show, inviting you to join us every week right here on the Grueling Truth Sports Network for a high-energy romp through the always fascinating world of professional boxing. We give you 90 scintillating minutes that includes insight from our expert analysts, professional boxer Travis Hartman, boxing journalist Rizwan Zahid, and nationally known author and boxing writer John J. Responti. We give you an update on the United Kingdom boxing scene from British correspondent Paul McLaughlin, and amazing tours through the storied past of professional boxing with our historian Christopher James Shelton. Not to mention a 10-year legacy of more than 500 world-class guests. If you're a boxing junkie, the Ringside Boxing Show is the tonic you're going to need every week. Check us out and discover why we have the most listened to podcast on the Grueling Truth Sports Network.
The hottest, sweatiest show on West Coast Radio.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. I'm sitting here with Dan Siegel from FF Faceoff, Anthony Cervino, also from FF Faceoff, from the Best Available Draft podcast. We've got Matt Minich. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, everybody that I've seen has had them picking Derwin James if Quentin Nelson was gone.
We have breaking news. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have traded the number 7 overall pick to the Buffalo Bills.
There you go. That worked out for
And here it
Buffalo.
is.
They probably didn't have to give up as much that way. So, that will put the
That's
Buffalo
very
Bills
interesting.
on the clock.
That makes a lot of sense, too, because Minka and Derwin are both on the board, and as long as they got that number 12 pick for the Bills, one of those guys is going to make it to 12. Yeah. That's brilliant for them. And Chubb and Nelson are already gone, so it's got to be one of those two guys, I would think. So that's a really good move for the Bucs.
I'll jump out first. I'm thinking they moved up for Allen.
Yeah, I do too.
And I'm gonna, and this might be the worst analysis that there is as far as why I'm going with Allen. But you're going to play in Buffalo half the year. You want the kid that played in Wyoming in college, or you want the kid that played in UCLA?
Well, not a bad example. Dan?
I just said Allen.
Oh, all right. Anthony. This is the problem. You two haven't been on with us before, so I can't distinguish your voices.
We had 2 Matts last year, and we didn't have this many problems.
I know. Ain't that the truth?
I think the Bills go Josh Allen as well.
All right, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Allen. I definitely agree with that. I think the cold weather assessment, isn't a bad one. You get those lake effects in there. That's a lot to risk on a guy like Rosen, and just his style of play overall doesn't strike me as a guy that would necessarily be the best in that. I think it's Allen all the way, and it's gonna be rough for Bills fans.
What about? Well, why? It's going to be rougher if they don't take Allen because A.J. McCarron's trash anyways.
One way or another, it was going to be tough for him there. I think.
Well, it's going to be tough because their
Rosen's probably a better
center,
pick.
it looks like, is going to be Russell Bodine, who's also the worst center in football.
Well, look at it this way. They had a quarterback in Tyrod who wasn't the greatest, but they made the playoffs with Tyrod, and they kicked him to the curb. So what difference does it make who they got back there?
Yeah.
Listen, the Bills, they're only giving up the number 12 overall pick in 2 seconds. They're keeping their pick in the middle of the round.
Well, I would say that's because they're not really dropping that far. So,
right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a steal. They're going to get their quarterback, and they didn't have to give up both picks.
Yeah. So, Buffalo.
So all of a sudden.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, all of a sudden, there's a better chance of another receiver going in this round because the Bills are keeping that second pick. And the pick is in. You go from the pick is in to Bills have not won a division since 1995. Great. Thanks a lot. Excellent coverage here.
I was say, Bills haven't won a division since Tom Brady was born.
Oh,
second winningest quarterback in Buffalo history.
Actually, I don't know. Dan Marino might be too, or Bob Greasy. They used to beat the hell out of the Bills all the time. But none of them played as long as him, I don't think. So yeah, he's probably up there.
Yeah. That's a legitimate stat. He's only behind Jim Kelly for winning games in Buffalo.
I forgot about Jim Kelly.
Yeah, I think Bledsoe, another Patriots quarterback, who obviously played in Buffalo too. I think he was 3rd or 4th.
Basically,
all right.
Everybody beats Buffalo.
We're walking to the podium.
We're walking real slow to the podium.
We're giving the Gettysburg Address about this. And it's Josh Allen.
All right. Everybody got that one?
Another clean sweep.
Yep.
I'm still in last.
Yes, Anthony's still in last with 3. But that's all right, Anthony. Everybody's got to be somewhere.
It's still early.
Yeah, it's still early. You got plenty of time.
Yeah,
Anthony,
we
can
don't
be
plan on
tied
letting
for
you
first
move.
after the next pick. All right. Next up, we get the Chicago Bears. That's a team that needs a lot of things. First up, Dan, you want to give us your take on the Chicago Bears? All right, Anthony? Chicago Bears.
I know the Chicago Bears have a lot of needs on the defensive side of the ball. In free agency, they addressed the offense. They got Mitchell Trubisky some weapons. I think right here the Bears are going to go linebacker, address the middle of their defense, and go with Virginia Tech's Tremaine Edwards.
Tremaine Edmonds, okay. I think they go linebacker too. I think they go Roquan Smith. Matt?
There's definitely a lot of different areas they can go with this. I think if it's going to be a backer, I would lean towards Roquan Smith. I have a feeling Edmonds might fall a little bit farther than people think he's going to go. But I'm actually going to take a shot here, and I think we're going to see another edge player come off the board. I think they might take a leap at Harold Landry. If you go back a year and watch that 16 film, if you look at that film alone, I think he's probably ahead of Chubb in this draft. And I also think he's a guy that would be taken ahead of Derek Barnett, who's the second edge player drafted last year. I think this is about the right spot for him. So I'll take a shot and go with Landry.
All right. Now, I'm not a big fan of Landry's, but when we look at this, I think what this is setting up for, if you look at what's below them, and you look at teams that might want a quarterback, I think that the teams that have to fall into that would be, the Cardinals?
Definitely the Cardinals. I believe the Dolphins have showed some interest in Rosen. There's been talk about the Chargers might be looking for the heir apparent to Phillip Rivers.
The Saints?
That'd be pretty far to move, but I think they only brought Breeze back on a 1-year deal, and obviously he's getting up there. So,
yeah. My take on this is this: we know at number 8 that the Bears are not going to pick a quarterback. We know at 9 the Niners aren't. We know at 10 the Raiders aren't. So I would think right now that you've got the Cardinals probably trying to trade up somewhere around 8, 9, or 10.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the priority to get up in front of there, I'm not really sure how much of a priority it is for them, because I think they've got a lot of roster holes too, and they've got Keenum, they've got Glennon. Maybe they try and sit tight with those guys for a little bit. I'm sorry, I said Keenum, not Bradford. Maybe they try and sit tight with those guys for a little bit. Maybe they tank it and they're at the top of the board next year. But I don't know, with so many holes, I wonder if they'd want to invest in moving up to get the next guy.
Yeah, I don't know either. So these quarterbacks are obviously slipping farther down than what we thought they would. I mean, that's pretty much undeniable right here. We got 4 minutes and 56 seconds until the Bears are picked. And then we got the 49ers coming up after that. With the Bears, I think the Bears have a lot of holes. So I really think, and it showed by all four of us, or two. We got 3 different players picked with them. So I think there's a lot of ways this team could go right now. It's another team that could be traded up to, but I think they're going to take the pick. And when you look at Edmonds and Roquan Smith and Landry, I don't see how Edmonds or Landry are even close to as good as Smith. Matt?
I think they have different things. I think Roquan Smith is the top backer. And I think he's going to have a big-time impact wherever he ends up going. In my mind, Landry's the top edge rusher in this draft, just based on what he did when he was healthy a year ago. So I think if you go back and look at that, and the Bears have been looking for an edge rusher for a couple of years now and haven't really been able to find that guy. So if they have enough faith in his film from 2 years ago that he can be that guy in the NFL, then I absolutely think he deserves to be in that conversation with Roquan Smith.
Yeah, and the Bears' pick is in. But who knows how long it'll be before they let us know who it is. And the good thing is Roger Goodell was booed tonight at the NFL draft. Nobody deserves it more than Roger.
And Dallas is the only place he's less popular than he is in New England.
I don't know. Is that true, Anthony?
What's that?
One of us was right. It wasn't me.
Roger, what? Who was it?
Roquan Smith.
Roquan Smith. So we have a leader here, huh? And it's me. All right. That sounded kind of crass, didn't it? All right, guys, real quick before the San Francisco 49ers go on the clock, or as they're going on the clock, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Josh Benjamin. And I'm Patrick Miller. And we are the hosts of Real Deal. Do you want to hear about sports? Do you want to hear about facts? Do you want the grueling truth? See what I did there? We are one of many sports shows on The Grueling Truth. The best part about our show is we get to talk about any sport, any topic, anytime we want. College football and basketball, we got it. NBA, got it. NFL, MLB, definitely got it. NHL, a little bit. We have knowledgeable, incredible guests to give our listeners the best possible show. Follow us on Twitter at RealDealTGT. Like our Facebook page as well, at Real Deal Sports RDS. We want you to be one of our listeners because we are the real deal. Be real with what you say.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth Sports Network's live NFL draft coverage. We're going to go ahead. We're going to start talking about the 49ers a little bit. We will let Matt go first. Matt, what's your take?
Oh, this is an interesting one coming in. They've got a lot of things that they could address as well. You know, they've kind of taken care of some offensive things, in free agency, particularly the line. They've got some pretty decent receivers there. And they went out and got McKinnon in free agency. Last year, they took Solomon Thomas, which didn't really pan out for them the way they wanted to. They kind of projected him as a bit more of an edge guy than what he was really capable of. He's going to do some good things for them, but they could use that edge guy. So again, Landry could be a guy who's in play here. And I think more than that, I think defensive back would make some sense. They just brought in Richard Sherman, and they drafted a guy out of Colorado last year who was doing some good things for him. Minka Fitzpatrick, being able to come in and play that slot corner spot could make a lot of sense here for them.
All right.
Linebacker would be another spot too, obviously with the Reuben Foster situation.
All right. Real quick, we are going to see if I can figure this out. We're going to see if we can add Matt Andruscavage, who's our 49er beat writer. So we'll see if Matt comes on here in a second. Matt, you there?
Yes.
All right. Can everybody hear Matt?
Absolutely.
All right. Matt.
Well, the pick is in, so talk fast, Matt.
All right. That's it. Just Anthony, who they taking? I'm taking Minka Fitzpatrick.
Minka.
Right.
Minka Fitzpatrick, that's who I think as well.
Dan.
Possibly Derwin James.
Dan.
Minka.
All right. Matt Minich.
I'll go with Minka.
All right. I'm going with Minka also. Matt Andruscavage, our 49er guy. Who you got?
I got Minka Fitzpatrick as well. With his versatility and size, I think he fits very well. They can do a lot with him.
Well, that makes me wonder why we even called you. You just agreed with us.
But Derwin James is possible as well. But I also would not be shocked if they picked McGlinchey.
Oh, McGlinchey from Notre Dame? I think that's a bad pick.
Yeah.
I think Fitzpatrick's a great pick. I think McGlinchey, I don't know, Matt Minich, I think you agree with me here that he needs to get stronger, and I don't think his technique's outstanding.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a reach for them right now. I think he's a real good run blocker. It's funny because everybody talks about, hey, Connor Williams is an inch short. He's got to play guard. I think McGlinchey's the one that doesn't have the pass pro down well enough to really be trusted as a tackle, in particular a left tackle in the NFL right now. But I think he's an excellent run blocker, and obviously his size gives him some great potential there. Matt, I'm wondering from you, what do you think with them taking Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster last year and not necessarily getting what they wanted out of either one of those guys? I mean, what do you think the odds they double down quickly on one of those two spots?
Are you saying on pass rusher or linebacker?
Yes.
McGlinchey.
It's
McGlinchey.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was possible. They're talking about moving Trent Brown. I know that they're saying that he is the best tackle, but yeah, I think this is a questionable pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he could be a good player, especially if you've got a good offensive line coach there. But I think McGlinchey's a stretch. I'm just glad you took him because I think the Bengals need a tackle or a center, and I thought McGlinchey would be a huge stretch here also. But Matt, since you're on the show, do you want to hang out and stay with us, or?
Sure, I'll hang for a little bit.
All right, so Matt, we've been counting who gets the most picks right, and you're in last place with just one.
I would expect nothing else because this is what we do to our guests on the Pick'em show.
Well, it's true. You've only got one right. So right now I got 5, Matt's got 4, Dan's got 4, and Anthony's got 3. So I'm betting a little over 500. That's not too bad. The Oakland Raiders will be up next. When we look at Oakland, Matt Andruscavage, that's the bastard stepchild of the 49ers. Who do you think that the Raiders – where do you think the Raiders will go here?
I think it's possible they go with Fitzpatrick with his versatility. I think the Raiders' secondary was struggled at times. I think he can play Fitzpatrick in a number of different spots. Also, Derwin James is a possibility. I think that would be a good fit for the Raiders.
So who are you picking, Derwin James or Minka?
Minka.
All right. Dan Siegel.
At this point, I think I kind of got to keep throwing Minka out until somebody takes him. He keeps making sense at too many spots, so I guess I'll try him again.
I did that last year, and Jonathan Allen killed me. All right. Anthony Cervino.
I like Florida State's Derwin James to the Raiders.
All right. Matt
That's
Minich.
a big need for them on the defensive side of the ball and the defensive secondary.
All right, Matt Minich.
I think DB definitely makes sense. I could see them going with either one of those guys. I think the two corners that are around right now don't know if they make a ton of sense. The next two corners, Josh Jackson and Jair Alexander. So, yeah, I mean it's a tough one, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with Minka too.
All right.
Well, the Cardinals are going to get a quarterback.
Did they trade up?
Yeah, the Cardinals are going to be getting a quarterback.
All right, we got
Josh Rosen, I'm sure of it.
So I was the only one that hadn't picked yet, so I'll be the only one that has a chance to be right? Well, they're going to go. Did they already pick him?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
No, they didn't pick yet.
All right, so we've got the. What did you say? The Cardinals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I did predict that. Do I get an extra point? I said 8, 9, or 10. I wasn't specific, but so what do we got? We got Josh. Or who do we have here? Do we have Josh Rosen? Or
it's got to be Rosen.
I would think it's Rosen.
It's the Cardinals, so
it'd be pretty shocking if they went up and went for Lamar.
Yeah,
if they made that
Lamar's
move to take Lamar ahead of Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're all.
Well, now he might not be.
Yeah, clean sweep.
Yeah, clean sweep on this one. We should all be right on this one. I mean, Lamar Jackson's the only other guy I think it could be.
Yeah, that would be my, if I was really, really down in the count right now and looking to make a move to move up on you guys, I might pick him, but I think that's a pretty big dark horse candidate.
All right, so when we look at the Raiders, they got Gruden as the head coach. What's your take on the Raiders, Matt Andruscavage? What's their chances for the year moving forward?
Well, I think John Gruden gives them probably a little bit more stability with an offensive system. If Derek Carr can regain his 2016 form, I think that'll go a long way. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with the run game, but it looks like Marshawn Lynch is coming back. Amari Cooper, and then they had Jordy Nelson, so that'll be interesting. Jared Cook, I thought, was a solid tight end. So they got an offense over there. I think they've got a pretty good offensive line, and they've got a lot of moving parts on the defense. A lot of potential there. I do think that at some point they're going to address defense more in the draft than offense. But I think Gruden gives them a chance. It's a tough division, but we'll see what they do.
All right, so my question to you, Matt Minich, when you look at the Oakland Raiders, they trade down here. They need a linebacker or a DB, and from everything I've heard, they like Tremaine Edmonds, and they got to figure they can still get Edmonds with, that pick.
Yeah, I mean, you can still get Edmonds, and right now both those safeties are around. I think one of those safeties isn't getting past Green Bay, but there's a chance that one of those safeties could still be there that we were both picking, or we were all picking previously. So, John Gruden, I like John Gruden, but it's important to remember that he won one Super Bowl, and it was with Tony Dungy's defense. So I think he understands that he can scheme some things offensively, and he's a real good coach in that way. But he needs to make sure he's got the cats on defense to back it up, because that's how we won big in the past. So I definitely think that defense is the direction they go.
Yeah, and when you look at Gruden, he's a guy that's never developed a quarterback, really, other than Rich Gannon had a couple good seasons with him.
Yeah, I mean, developed him, but, Rich Gannon was in his 30s when he got there, I think. So, I mean, he kept trying. He kept taking these guys. He was going after guys like Chris Sims and all these young guys, and, never was able to do something himself. He's got Carr there. Carr's had some success, so as long as he can kind of maintain that, they should be in a pretty good spot.
Of course, it'll take 2 minutes from there for them to announce it.
All right, just quick note here before we find out the pick. Remember last year, Arizona was really hot and bothered for Patrick Mahomes, and Kansas City beat them to the punch. This year, they did not wait. They moved up to get what we assume is going to be their guy.
Listen, this tells me that the Dolphins were really thinking about taking Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
If the Cardinals jumped up ahead of him.
I would agree with that. It also brings up something interesting, that if one of these guys is similar to Mahomes, it's Lamar. Yeah. People like to compare Lamar to Deshaun Watson, which I don't think is accurate at all, but I think Lamar to Mahomes is not too far off. I don't know. Maybe there's a chance. I'm sticking with Rosen. I'm not changing it, but maybe there's a chance it's Lamar.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
it's Rosen.
It's Josh
there
Rosen.
You go. We all nailed it. You're stupid, Matt. You thought they were going to pick him. Let's see.
I did not officially change my vote.
Yeah, that's all right. So I guess we all got that one right. All right, next up, we got the Miami Dolphins. Now, where does Miami go? Because this is interesting, because if they think they need a quarterback, I mean, in my opinion, Dan, I'd rather roll with Lamar Jackson than Ryan Tannehill.
You know what? Miami is known for panicking in these situations. And even if they weren't, I had them picking Rosen, so this obviously kiboshes that. So, yeah, Lamar's next in line. And, it's a team that could go a lot of different ways, but they've been set on QB from the start. And, wouldn't be hard to sell in Miami a former Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, and I think the biggest need from this team, from what we've seen, Matt Andruscavage is linebacker.
For Miami, yeah, I would agree with that. They've had definite problems stopping the run, and they could probably use a guy like Edmonds.
Yeah, I think Edmonds could be a huge possibility here. When you look at the Dolphins, they were a playoff team 2 years ago, Matt Minich. Are they close to that now? Because to me, they were a playoff team because they didn't beat anybody with a record above 500 that year.
Yeah, I don't know. And they've done some weird things since then. It's hard to tell. Are they committed to Tannehill or are they not committed to Tannehill? Now they're kind of getting rid of some of their older, more tenured guys. They're moving on from those guys. They got rid of Jay Ajayi in the middle of the year. It was one of the kind of good young things they had going on. So it's kind of hard to gauge exactly where they're at. I think another one, and I'm just going to throw this one out there, another possibility here would be Vita Vea. Maybe this is where he goes, if they've got a need with Sue gone. I would lean towards Lamar, but I think Vea would be one that might make some sense here as well.
All right, let's go ahead and get our picks because we're down to 7 minutes and everybody's been picking at 5 and we have to rush it. Matt Andruscavage, what do the Dolphins do?
I'm just, until Fitzpatrick gets taken, I'm going to go with him. I just think he's too versatile. I think he fits so many schemes. I think he's best on board right now.
All right, Dan.
I'm going to go with Lamar. Miami needs a quarterback.
Anthony?
Matt and I share a brain. He said everything I was thinking about Vita Vea and why they need him. He's a run stopper, and he's an immediate need now that Ndamukong Suh is gone.
All right, Matt Minich.
I mean, I don't know what side of the brain you're using. I was thinking about that, but I'm going to go with Lamar.
Lamar? All right. I'm going to go with Edmonds. They need linebackers. They needed linebackers the year they made the playoffs. I like Lamar Jackson. I think he's better than Ryan Tannehill, so I don't think it would be a bad pick. But I don't know. I may change my mind right now. We may have to take a commercial break so I can flip a coin, Matt Andruscavage. But the pick is in, so I'm just going to stick with it, and I'll either be tied for first or I'll jump up a couple games.
Hey, real quick, is Minkah Fitzpatrick falling into the Jabril Peppers problem? Last year we talked about Jabril Peppers, and Peppers wasn't thought of, like Fitzpatrick, but we thought of Peppers like the Swiss Army knife. He can do so many things, and he dropped, and then Cleveland never really found a real use for him. I'm wondering if teams are looking at what happened with Peppers last year and kind of lumping Fitzpatrick into the same mold.
I wouldn't think, because I think they're entirely different. I think Fitzpatrick is worlds better than Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, but I do think that the NFL tends to make bad decisions when they have too much information. And I think there's a definite chance that a lot of these teams are looking at Minkah, and he does so many things well that they can't figure out what to do with him. Instead of just saying, hey, he can do it all. So I think you might be falling victim to that. And the first person that has the brain to pull the trigger and realize, hey, whatever you want, he can do it, is gonna pay big for that.
Yeah, because I still think he's one of the 3 best players in the draft, and I think everybody that is picked in this draft from 5 on down will regret not taking him before this is over. I'm just glad the 49ers.
I mean, Minkah was the
Miami Dolphins selected Minkah Fitzpatrick.
There he is.
No kidding.
All right, so I got 2.
You got 2. You're still on last, though. And that's good because everybody else was wrong, so I'm good. Matt Andruscavage,
on percentage could be rough, though.
Yeah, Matt Andruscavage, you got to go?
Yep, I got to head out. But thanks for having me, guys. And we'll see how this offensive lineman, I don't know, he feels a need. So, they're probably going to move Trent Brown. So we'll see what happens. But thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you. All right, remember, you can hear Matt Andruscavage on the San Francisco 49er Weekly Show. You can also read his articles at thegruelingtruth.net. That gives us a minute here. Anthony, why don't you and Dan tell us a little bit about FF Face Off, what you guys do, how often the show's on, all that good stuff.
Well, over at the FF Face Off, we do a live feed that we turn into an audio podcast for iTunes and Blog Talk Radio, but we do the live feed off of YouTube. We do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we also have exclusive content that doesn't always get shared by anywhere but YouTube. Like we'll do highlight videos, top 10 videos, and I also do quick news breaks if I can get online quick enough to break news that immediately happens.
All right. So during the season, you guys are once a week or more than once a week?
We'll go twice a week year-round.
All right. Is there any set schedule there? Or?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
All right, guys. So you can find them every Tuesday and Thursday on thegrowlingtruth.net, on YouTube. You want to give everybody your Twitter handle real quick before we make our picks?
Twitter handle is at the FF Faceoff. That's FFFACEOFF.
All right, guys. Next up, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 12. So what's everybody got here? I'll go first on this one. I think they're going to take Derwin James. Anthony?
Yeah, I can also see Derwin James going right now.
And Dan?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna rock the boat here. Derwin James makes sense.
Matt Minich.
It's got to be Derwin at this point with Chubb, Minka, and Quentin Nelson all off the board. They got to be getting some help for that secondary, and sticking with a local guy makes a lot of sense. It's got to be Derwin.
Hey, right, real quick. I was like real quick, just going back to the Dolphins pick real quick with Minka. This has to signal that they're committed long term to Tannehill, right?
Well, it's the NFL, so if he comes out and plays 5 bad games, they're probably looking to draft a quarterback next year. But yeah, that's what you would think.
Well, considering he missed all of last year anyway.
Yeah, which makes this an even bigger risk.
Well, now you got the Cardinals already having their quarterback, so that was the big hot, likely spot for Lamar to go. And maybe the Chargers, maybe the Patriots, I doubt it, might be interested in taking a quarterback in there. I could definitely see the Dolphins trading back into the first round and still going after Lamar that it's been reported that they like.
Yeah, I think that's a definite possibility because when you look now and you go down the draft order, there's not too many teams here that you think might grab a quarterback. I mean, if there's any. I mean, maybe New England, I think this. I think to be safe, they've got to be ahead of New England and Pittsburgh.
I'm going to toss Baltimore into that mix too. Remember, Flacco's got a back issue. I know he played through last year, but backs, you never know when it's going to go. Plus, Flacco is starting to get older. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know if I should say I wouldn't be surprised, but it wouldn't be completely shocking to see Baltimore maybe take a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baltimore is another team that's shown some interest in Lamar too. So.
Baltimore hardly ever drafts a first-round quarterback. But, yeah, I mean, Lamar's going to be there for Baltimore also, I think. Green Bay Packer fans have to be upset that they lost out on Minka Fitzpatrick. And if Tampa Bay grabs Derwin James, then I think we're a little bit more up in the air with what the Packers might do also. But
does anyone think the Packers are going to go receiver here? Or when they come up?
I think they could. Especially especially if both of those safeties are gone. Matt Minich?
Yeah, I mean, we're still looking at having some good defensive talent on the board. A guy that's frequently mocked to them is Marcus Davenport. Personally, I think it's a little high for him, but a lot of upside could be an edge rush guy for them. Landry could fit into that mold as well. He's an athletic guy that could play off the ball for him. And you still got Edmonds.
All right, what about this? We have a listener who suggested that the Packers could grab a running back. I don't see
they drafted 3 last year.
They could draft a running back in the second or third round in this draft, though, because I don't think anybody else is going in the first round at running back.
I think there's a chance Geis does. There's the 2 most likely spots if Geis is going to go in the first round. One of them is ahead of the Packers with the Skins who are the next pick, and the other one would be the very end to the Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're absolutely in love with Geis, but I don't know if that really fits their MO with what they're trying to do. I think if it's not defense, Ridley's the most likely guy. It looks like we got the pick in.
The Bucs are trading back again, and they are taking Vita Vea.
Who's taking Vita Vea?
The Bucs did.
Okay.
They traded back.
Yeah. All right. So,
well, that's a strike.
The only thing that Vita Vea is missing on the podium here is Manti Te'o's mystery girlfriend.
She's there. You just can't see her.
I was gonna say, if the Rock drops out of Maui, we have the replacement.
All right, so that makes things a little bit more interesting for the Redskins because I thought the Redskins may go via there, Matt Minich.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think we saw that people thought he was going to go this high. Personally, I think it's a little high for him. I don't think he's a guy that you're necessarily going to want on the field in pass rush situations. So it doesn't really, fit the modern NFL as well as some other guys in the position. But yeah, this really opens up the door for things with the Redskins. They could certainly go Derwin James. With Via off, the next one would be Hurst. Depends a lot on the medicals, and there's a lot of rumors that he could really be slipping.
Payne?
They went with the Bama D tackle last year. Again, something else I think is a bit of a reach and a bit of a projection. He didn't have he had some good games, but at the end, when it counted. But I don't think that I don't think he's really a top of the first round kind of guy in my mind. But yeah, definitely could be a possibility there.
All right, Washington Redskins. Dan, what do you think?
There's another team that seems to need 800 spots. If they really love Geis, they could go Geis, but I'm in agreement that Geis at this spot is a huge reach, and I'm not even sure he's a first rounder. I went Derwin James with the last pick. I'll stick with him.
Derwin James. All right. And that was Dan, correct?
Yes, you're good.
That's debatable. Anthony?
I think the Redskins are going to surprise everyone and take an offensive lineman that can play all three positions in Frank Ragnow.
Oh, don't do that. I want him to go to the Bengals.
Center is a big need for the Washington Redskins.
It is for the Cincinnati Bengals, too.
Yeah. Well, Daniels would still be around.
I don't like Daniels. I don't like Price. I like Ragnow. Matt Minich.
This is a bit of a tough one. I would say James is probably going to do the most for him, though. I would go James here.
All right. We could use wide receiver. Who's the quarterback in Washington, Matt Minich?
Alex Smith. Where they just give a big fat contract to.
Yeah, I know. The big fat contract. I don't know why you'd give a big fat contract to Alex Smith. But that means you better strengthen your defense or your running game. I just don't see a running back to swear. This is a team I could see trading down. I'm going to go Derwin James also because I'm kind of at a loss on here. Threw me off. I've been, giving him Vita Vita all year. And that's not because I think Vita Vita is that great. It's just I don't have a lot of respect for what the Redskins do usually in the draft on the field or off the field. The Green Bay Packers will pick after Washington, which I think is another one that's kind of up in the air. We talked about running backs. What about a guy like Nick Chubbs? Anybody?
Yeah. I think Geis is the guy that you can maybe make a case for. Maybe Sony Michel, especially with the Packers, where they like the guy that can catch out of the backfield. Michel's projected to be the type of guy that can do that real well for them. So either way, I think it's a bit high to be taking a running back right now, though.
Yeah,
and for them, I think that they should really be going defense.
Yeah. The Packers definitely need defense. They can usually score points, and let's face it, if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, it doesn't matter that much who's running the ball or throwing the ball. It'll seem to work out all right. All right, real quick, we're going to take a quick station break, and we will be back in 1 minute.
I'm Dennis Taylor, co-author of the Amazon bestseller Intimate Warfare, the true story of the Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward boxing trilogy. You know, writing this book was a labor of love for John J. Responti and myself. We enjoyed every minute of the process and considered it a privilege to tell the tale of one of the most electrifying boxing trilogies in the history of this sport. Intimate Warfare traces the collision course of Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward from their earliest days through their 3 epic fights, as well as the aftermath of this great rivalry, which culminated in one of the greatest friendships in boxing. Intimate Warfare has received a 4.5-star rating from readers and was endorsed by Hall of Famers Harold Letterman and Joe Cortez and 2-time Trainer of the Year Virgil Hunter. Our foreword was written by Ray Boom Boom Mancini, another one of the greatest blood and guts fighters of our time. Get your copy today at Amazon.com.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth Sports Network live NFL Draft Show with myself, Mike Goodpaster, Matt Minich, Dan Siegel, Anthony Cervino. Matt Minich, are you impressed the way I remembered everybody's name?
Very impressive.
Yeah, because sometimes I forget things. All right, guys.
Skins take Daron Payne.
I was getting ready to say it. That's who I was going to say, too, and I screwed that up, didn't I? I haven't brought
I
him
talked you
up.
out of it, didn't I?
Damn, you did. You talked me out of it. Next up on the clock are the hated Green Bay Packers. I know Anthony probably doesn't like them because of that playoff game. Well, a lot of playoff games, except for the ones in the 90s, right?
Oh, yeah, the Packers definitely have Dallas's number in recent years.
Yeah.
I actually could see Des Bryant landing in Green Bay.
Oh, that would be awesome. They'll call that a touchdown now up there, though, and they'll probably beat the Cowboys in a playoff game with that call.
It's about time they get Aaron Rodgers some weapons.
Yeah, it is. So the Green Bay Packers, let's talk about them a little bit. You talked about Aaron Rodgers. Not really a great running game, so they could go running back. They could use some wide receivers after losing Nelson. They always need help on defense. What do you think, Matt Minich?
I really think it's got to be Derwin James right now. The secondary could definitely use some help, and I think he brings some versatility to it.
The Saints have traded up.
That would be huge for them.
The Saints have traded up. The Saints have traded with the Packers.
That's Lamar. It's got to be Lamar.
You would think, yeah. So we'll go with the Saints.
This makes all the sense. This makes all the sense in the world for Green Bay. There's not we're sitting here and we're talking about, it could be Derwin. I was thinking Calvin Ridley. Like, there's not a guy in this spot that makes sense for them. So why not? We talked about how they have holes. Get some picks, try and fill those holes. Makes perfect sense for them to drop out.
Absolutely love the move.
What did they get in return? Do we know yet?
I got nothing.
I didn't see anything yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet either.
The Saints give up their number 27, number 147, and next year's first rounder to jump up to 14.
Then Green Bay did really well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and I'll go first. I'll say they're taking Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's got to be Lamar. Yeah, absolutely.
Dan, Anthony, we all in the same boat here?
Yeah, I can see Lamar Jackson here.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect situation for Lamar Jackson. I think Sean Payton is a hell of an offensive football coach, and Drew Brees is one of the smartest quarterbacks you're ever going to find. And it's not like he's going to have to play right away. And even if Drew Brees has a bad game early in the season, people aren't going to be cheering for his replacement. So I think this is brilliant. I mean, with what they give, I think they may have gave up a little much to do this. Because my question is this: Green Bay wasn't going to do that. Oakland wasn't going to do that at 15. Maybe going to try it with the Raiders. But overall, I think for the Saints, you've got your quarterback for the next 10 years if everything works out, Dan.
Yeah, I hear you. The one thing that I'm a little curious about, and I was actually looking it up now, is they just re-upped Brees for a 2-year deal that could be worth up to $50 million. I know only 27 of that is guaranteed, and this is the NFL, so whatever. But, is it possible that Lamar is going to have to go the Aaron Rodgers route and have to wait longer than a year?
Well, the Aaron Rodgers route worked out all right for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and I think the same thing. I think Aaron Rodgers was probably ready to play right away. I don't know if Lamar is, but I really think Lamar Jackson in the right situation can be a really good NFL quarterback. And the other thing to think about is this. The Saints are a solid team, and if something was to happen to Drew Brees, you want to have somebody that can come in and still give you a chance to make the playoffs and maybe make a run. And Lamar Jackson may be that guy, Anthony.
Yeah, I think they're going to target quarterback here, but is there anybody thinks that they're moving up to get a pass rusher?
Who do you think? Who are you thinking?
Either a Marcus Davenport or a Harold Landry.
I think Marcus Davenport would be a huge. I just don't see. They gave up a number one for next year too.
Yeah.
That's what gives me pause for that. I can see it happening because it's the NFL and you never know what the hell is going to happen. But when I look at this, Matt, I would think just with the fact that they were giving up so much,
right,
that they're desperate to get a quarterback here.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I don't think he'd go up that much to get a Landry or a Davenport. When one of them, one of those guys is gonna fall at least into the 20s, where he wouldn't have to move up quite as far.
Hell, one of those could be a second round pick.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around how Green Bay gets a first round pick from next year for the 14 when Arizona didn't have to give up a first round pick next year. They gave up their first round this year, a 3 and a 5.
Yeah, it's called desperation, maybe.
I mean, goodness gracious, do these teams think?
Not a lot of them. Me and Matt Minich are both Bengals fans. And Anthony, I know you're a Cowboys fan.
Cowboys.
And wait, we got a Giants fan too. So yeah, all four of us know that a lot of times teams don't think.
I was going to say, just look at the Giants season last year.
Well, look at the Giants' last 4 seasons. They've been systematically taken apart from a Super Bowl team to a team with no offensive line, no running game, and no defense a couple of years ago. And then they fixed the defense and never fixed the offense.
Listen, Ben McAdoo should have to send royalty checks to Aaron Rodgers for ever getting him a head coaching job.
Yeah, I think Bob McAdoo would have made a better coach.
I think my son, who is 8, would have made a better coach.
Oh, there's no doubt. I don't even know your son, but I have no doubt he would have made a better coach. So,
but he can't grow a mustache like that, though.
So, is there anybody here that thinks maybe they like Mason Rudolph?
I don't think that's the move.
Yeah, it has to be Lamar Jackson or a pass rusher.
Isn't Belichick lying in wait for Mason Rudolph?
I don't know. Everybody thinks Belichick's laying in wait for everybody. Man, usually he's laying in wait for something.
And living in New England, all the talk on the radio stations, the sports stations this week was Lamar Jackson, how much the Patriots like Lamar Jackson. So,
now my question is this: the Saints are waiting till the last minute to make this pick. Also, by the way, for what that's worth. All right, pick's in.
Well, the pick is in. Say Goodell doesn't do anything very fast, so this could take another 5 minutes.
Yeah. He saw somebody taking a knee in the audience. He's trying to get him to stand up.
I thought he was waiting for the video to come in.
Yeah, you got to have the video before you make a concrete decision on anything. I still don't know why if the pick is in, it takes 5 minutes to get the pick. But at least they start the clock on the other team.
It does seem like it's speeding along a little bit this year.
Oh, yeah. Right now, if they keep at this pace, I just figured it out, we'll be done like 11:15.
I'm waiting to actually see this, but I'm seeing something on Twitter that this could be a big surprise. Well, something that one of us
said. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing Davenport.
Yep, I'm seeing the same thing.
That would be insane.
Gave up a king's ransom.
For Marcus Davenport, who played at UTSA, Has very few moves, no bend hardly. Am I wrong here, Matt Minich?
He's a project.
I mean, to me, he's just...
he can run.
Yeah, he can run around the edge.
It's Davenport.
Oh, jeez.
Wow, that is a lot to give up for Marcus Davenport. It's pretty reasonable for your future if you think Lamar Jackson or Mason Rudolph is your future, but that is a lot to give up for a pass rusher.
I should get like 1/10 of a point for that.
Yeah, but you don't. Let's see. All right, who was that, Anthony or Dan?
The only thing I got right all night.
Oh, it's Anthony. Okay, I just gave you 1/10 of a point. So...
I'll say, if it's whining, it's Anthony.
You guys seem like you get along really well.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, real quick before the Oakland Raiders pick, we are going to take a station break. We'll be back in a minute. Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com. All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth Sports Network with our live NFL draft coverage. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, sitting here with Matt Minich, Anthony Cervino, who just got 1/10 of a point by suggesting Marcus Davenport, and Dan Cervino, who suggested that Anthony is a bit of a whiner. So
I don't think I'm the whiner of the group, Dan.
I don't know. All I know is I had to be quiet there for a second because I'm getting older and I've sat here so long that I got a cramp in my hamstring there for a second. That's always awesome. But, all right, we get the Oakland Raiders. I think Oakland has a fair amount of needs here. What are you thinking here, Dan?
Yeah, Oakland has a whole lot of needs. I mean, where do you want to start? Goodness gracious. I don't even know where to start.
No hurry for
I need time. I'm going to pass.
All right. Anthony, since you're the whiner, but he needs a pass, what do you think?
I think the Raiders go get their defensive back and go Derwin James right here.
All right, Matt Minich, do you think Derwin James is that? I think this. I see what you're saying. Derwin James is a really good player, but I think there's bigger needs on that defense even than Derwin James, Matt.
I mean, I think that's the best defensive player available right now. I think he fits with them better than going for one of the outside corners that's here. So I think that's the direction I'd go with it too.
What about Harold Landry?
I mean, I think you can always use another pass rusher. I think they have bigger needs though in the secondary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right, with Irvin and Khalil Mack already, I think they have to go secondary here.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have three of them guys. Then you don't need a secondary. You just go get the quarterback all the time. So we're sitting here, and I guess we got to pick the guy now, though. Is that who your pick is?
Yes.
I'll go Derwin.
Did everybody go Derwin?
Yeah, I'll take Derwin.
All right. I'll go Derwin, too, just because he's the best player. And if I'm the Raiders, you have to go with the best player available, I would think. The Raiders pick is in. Of course, it'll take a good 10 minutes to get this commercial off for ESPN so we can do it. The Baltimore Ravens will pick next. Could be Lamar Jackson? Matt Minich?
I mean, it could be. That's definitely something that might make some sense for them. I'd be a little bit worried about as a Bengals fan that this could be a spot where they go right now. They definitely need a center, but they also love adding defensive pieces. So This could be a Derwin. This could be, I think more likely than a Derwin, it could be a spot for Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah. All right, Anthony, what's your take on the Ravens just looking right now before we know what the Raiders do? I mean, this is a team that I think is one of the better coached teams with John Harbaugh, but the talent level has dropped off the last few years, and they have not drafted to fill in those holes.
I think the Ravens are going to dress defense. I think they can go Edmonds or even Leighton Von Der Esch here.
Yeah, what's your take on Von Der Esch here? Anthony?
I have him ranked ahead of Edmonds. I think he's a better fit in the inside for the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, the Raiders have picked Colton Miller, offensive tackle, UCLA. I think this is a huge reach, Matt Minich.
Wow. That's a
guy I had a hard.
That's the biggest surprise I've heard of.
Yeah, I think I had him late in the first round, and I think that was a stretch. But this is the Oakland Raiders, Dan, and the Oakland Raiders don't always have the greatest history of draft selections over the last 20 years.
Not to mention, let's not forget that John Gruden's running that ship now. Does John Gruden even care about who they draft on defense? He's worried about the offense right now.
Hey, we got to trade. The Buffalo Bills are now 16.
I mean, they got their quarterback, but
I know. Let's see.
I mean, are they trying to get ahead of the Packers for Ridley? That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Wasn't Zay Jones enough of a bust last year?
I mean, Ridley's you drafted a deep ball quarterback. Ridley's a deep ball receiver. I mean, the pairing makes sense there. They need a lot of help. They need some guys on defense. I'm not sure who they'd be going up for here. I mean, maybe it's Edmonds. They could use a linebacker, but I don't know. Ridley's the first person that pops into my head here.
Is that who you're going with?
Yeah, I'll go with Ridley.
All right. Dan, what's your take on the Bills here?
Oh, man, moving up, that makes little to no sense at all. Ridley makes sense, but like I said, they drafted Zay Jones last year, and that didn't work out. I'll go Edmonds.
Edmonds? All right. Anthony?
I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley here, but is there any possibility they're moving up to get Geis to be Shady McCoy's successor? Could this be a move to get a running back?
I'm going to go with Edmonds here also. I mean, they lost one of their best, if not probably their best tackler at least, on the defense to the Bengals in free agency. I think Edmonds would fill that. When I look at this, though, when you look at where they were and the teams that are drafted next, I mean, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me right now. Maybe it will. The pick is in. Maybe when I see the pick, it'll make all the sense in the world. But as of right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But Matt Minich, this is a team that did sign, you know who, Russell Bodine.
And A.J. McCarron.
A.J. McCarron. And they signed Marshall Newhouse, too.
They benched Tyrod in the middle of a playoff run.
Yeah, they possibly got the worst center in football, the worst tackle in football, and the worst starting quarterback. I don't know. Dan, Anthony, do you guys like – let's see. The Ravens get the 22nd overall pick in 2018, third-round pick.
Yeah, basically they swap first, and then it's a 3, and Buffalo gets a 5.
Yeah. Packers made out like bandits. But what's you guys' take on A.J. McCarron?
This year's Mike Glennon.
Hey, did we pick the Bills yet? Did everybody pick the Bills?
Yes.
Yeah, we said Ridley.
I said Ridley.
So we basically got Ridley or Edmonds.
I don't know. I think a cornerback's possible here, too.
I think you use somebody to put on the other side there.
And it's Edmonds.
I could see. I could definitely
Edmonds?
see that. I think,
All right.
Josh Jackson.
I'm glad
There
they
we
did
go.
that before I changed my mind. All right. Who had Edmonds? That was me and Anthony, wasn't it?
Dan.
No, me.
Dan? All right.
I was like, don't be giving Anthony right answers.
Hey, right now, I've got a 3-pick lead over Anthony. So I got 7. Dan's got 6. Anthony's got 4, which means so far the bragging rights on the FF Face-Off Fantasy Show go to Dan. And Matt Minich has 5 right so far. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back in just a minute.
Hey, sports fans. Chris and Graham here from the Grueling Truth Network.
Baseball's boring. It's too slow. Where's the fun in it? If you think that, then why the hell aren't you listening to Out of Left Field with us on thegruelingtruth.net?
On our show, we make baseball way more than just a bunch of numbers. You laugh with us, probably yell at us, and hopefully learn a thing or two from us.
Ever wonder what it's like to be a major league umpire or why they made the call they did? Lucky for you, we have our own umpire on the show, even have big league umpires stopping by from time to time, and even the occasional big leaguer or two.
And all of that's just the first 10 minutes. Come on by and join the fun. Listen to Out of Left Field with Grant and me every week on thegruelingtruth.net, and give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook.
Just search Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham and like our page on Facebook, or use our Twitter handle @OOLeftField. It's that simple. See you all this week when we put the ball in play on Out of Left Field.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth Sports Network NFL Draft Show. On the clock are the Los Angeles Chargers. First take on the Chargers, Dan.
This is a team that, I brought up Baltimore earlier. They could, Phillip Rivers is toward the end. They could possibly take a quarterback, although I don't think that's the way they're going to go. Their run defense is absolutely atrocious. So I think they probably look somewhere on that to get a run stopper there, whether they go linebacker with Evans, or they go somewhere on the line, maybe a Landry.
All right, Anthony.
I like the Chargers to plug up that middle and either address the middle linebacker position or the defensive tackle. They could also go add another pass rusher, and Harold Landry also comes to mind for me.
All right, is that who you're going with?
Yes.
All right, so Dan was Landry. Anthony, you were?
Landry as well.
Landry as well. Matt Minich?
I mean, definitely they can use the defense. Maybe that's, the point of moving up for Edmonds is getting in front of them, because I could definitely see them having made that move. Defensive tackle is another spot for them that would be big. Well, I've seen people talk about Derwin here. Personally, I don't think it's a great fit. They've got a guy who's more of the in the box guy. I think they needed safeties really for a free safety. I would say Hurst, but I don't know what's really going on with his medicals. I'm gonna go off the reservation here a little bit, and even though it doesn't make great sense to me, I'm gonna say Derwin.
Derwin? All right. I am going to go Leighton Vander Esch. I think that he actually fits in with that Chargers team. He gives them an upgraded defense or at linebacker. And I think most importantly here, Matt, I think he just fits the style of play that they're playing defensively under Anthony Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vander Esch should be a good move here. I think of these top guys, he's probably the best in pass coverage, with respect to Roquan. And I think he's a guy that, you look at Edmonds, and Edmonds is a bit of a project with a lot of upside based on his physical traits. Vander Esch is pretty similar in that regard. Another real big, real fast guy, tall guy, but I think he's maybe a little bit farther along the way, despite the fact that Edmonds has a lot more experience. So couldn't go wrong with Van Der Esch here. I think that could be a good move for him as well.
All right, so you had Derwin James. I had Van Der Esch and then Landry for Dan and Anthony. Matt, you want to tell everybody about the work you do at the Grueling Truth and also what you do with, was it SB Nation, Cincinnati Jungle?
Yeah, so I run in the Bengals for SB Nation Cincinnati Jungle, and I cover the NFL draft and general NFL topics for the Grueling Truth. So you can find my work at the gruelingtruth.net and cincyjungle.com. Also, follow all my work on my Twitter at Coach Minich. That's Minich, and yeah, I put all my stuff up there.
All right, very good. I guess I need a Bengals beat writer unless I want to do it myself now, huh?
You pretty much did it yourself before.
No, you did it. I only write when I watch the game and I get really pissed. So that was at least 4 or 5 times last year. But
yeah.
And for any Bengal fans out there listening in, which I know there are some from looking at the demographics of the people listening right now, former Cincinnati Bengal linebacker Joe Kelly, who was drafted in the first round, I think it was like the 11th pick in the first round, 1985 draft. It was 85 or 80. Yeah, it was 85, I think. Played for the Washington Huskies on the great team. Did beat Oklahoma in the 1985 Orange Bowl. He will be with us from Bengals headquarters right when we get done with the Detroit pick to go to Cincinnati. Joe will pop on and give his take on the Bengals. Also, if you're a Bengals fan, you can hear me and Joe Kelly every week during the season and sporadically during the off season on the Cincinnati Bengals weekly show. The Chargers pick is in, and damn it, Matt Minich was right. All right, so now we're at 7-6 now. I had a little room to play with, though. Next up, we'll have the Seattle Seahawks. We know they've lost some in the secondary. They've lost some on the defensive line. When you look at the Seahawks team, the thing that stands out to me, Dan, is I think the coordinator situation went from bad to worse with the hirings they've made. To me, right now, this is a team that's fallen behind the Rams and the 49ers, and I don't know if they could do enough in this draft to make up for it.
No, without Russell Wilson, they'd be picking in the top 5 of this draft.
Without Russell Wilson, they're the Colts or the Browns.
Yeah, so frankly, I think the Chargers just took their pick, with the rumors swirling about Earl Thomas potentially being on the move. I thought they would take Derwin, but obviously that's off the board now. Like you said, they've got holes upon holes on the defensive side. If they were going to go secondary, maybe they go Ward or again Evans is there. I'll go with Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward? He's already been picked.
Oh, I missed that apparently. All right, well then I'll go with Evans.
With the 4th pick to the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, I really missed it then. See, that's what happens when you drive and do this. Yeah, Evans then.
Okay. Rashaan Evans. Anthony?
I think the Seahawks are going to dress a really bad offensive line and take guard out of UTEP Will Hernandez.
Will Hernandez. All right. I like Isaiah Wynn better than Hernandez.
A trade.
A trade. All right. Well, you guys will
Green Bay is on the clock.
Here's Green Bay.
So?
Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. Who said Ridley?
Me. Dan.
Dan. Anthony?
Is it already done?
No. Anthony?
I'm going to go with Ridley as well.
All right. Matt Minich, Green Bay Packers. What do you think they're going to do?
I'm trying to figure out who they moved up in front of. There's been so many pieces moving around.
Yeah.
Dallas?
Yeah.
Well, Dallas. That could be Ridley or that could be Van Der Esch. I'm going to go Van Der Esch.
Yeah, I think I am too because I think that's the way Dallas was going to go also. Plus, let's face it, we're tied. I'm up 1. I don't want to be tied. But yeah, I had Van Der Esch going there too as I was writing ahead there. You also had the possibility of a wide receiver, I would think, and about anything on defense that's needed. What do you think about a guy like Isaiah Oliver, Matt?
So now we're on to Green Bay. Green Bay?
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm just asking in general what you think of Isaiah Oliver. Because I'm like the only person in the world that likes Josh Jackson. So
I'm not a huge fan of Oliver. I don't see him as being a top round guy. Yeah, he's a bigger guy, which is getting more popular in the NFL. But I think Josh Jackson would probably be a better fit if they were going to go defensive back. In that system, I think Jair Alexander would be a better player there too.
Yeah, and David brought up the point that I was kind of thinking of was Seattle. I think Seattle right now, I think they could be looking at a guy like Justin Reed from Stanford. Anthony?
Yeah, and for the Packers, I think they finally get Aaron Rodgers their receiver.
All right, so you got them going with Ridley. We got
absolutely
everybody Ridley, and we got me and Matt with Van Der Esch. And I'll tell you this, I like Christian Kirk a lot. What's you guys' opinion on Christian Kirk?
He might end up being the best receiver out of this group. I just don't think he gets enough talk to be a first-round pick.
I think, day 2 pick and a value in day 2.
I think he could still be a 1, but I think it would be later. And he's the kind of guy, if you look at him, could fit in with that second pick New England has, or even Philadelphia. Matt?
Yeah, I would say Philadelphia. I could definitely see that being the spot. I think there's a good chance Philadelphia goes receiver, but I don't feel like I have a great beat on what they're looking for at that spot.
Tight end for Philly.
Yeah, I mean,
they lost
who's
Burden
there.
and Selleck retired.
Yeah.
They need a number 2 behind Ertz.
It's interesting because it is a number 2 tight end. Is that where we're at in the NFL? The number 2 tight end is that valuable? Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State is somebody who has been compared quite a bit to Trey Burton. Being the guy who can be a moving piece and move around. So, that could definitely make some sense. Gesicki can make some sense as well. Filling that void and maybe upgrading it. I mean, either way, you're adding a receiver, you're adding a receiving tight end. You're just adding the piece back to that offense that lost Burton.
All right, guys. Real quick, we're going to take another quick station break. We will be back right after this.
Hello, boxing fans. I'm Michael Montero of Montero on Boxing. You may have read my work in Boxing Monthly Magazine, Ring Magazine, or their associated websites, maybe Undisputed Champion Network. Maybe you've heard my segments on NBC Sports Radio or any of the other platforms where I do work regularly. I wanted to invite you to check out my podcast, The Neutral Corner. We upload it every Monday. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course at thegruelingtruth.net. Every week we go over the news, the rumors, the latest fights being put together. We analyze everything, give you the business behind the business, and then we review all the action that took place in the ring during the prior week around the world. Not just the big popular fights, but all the fights, including the little guys. And then, of course, we preview the action coming up this week. Again, Michael Montero, The Neutral Corner, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and thegruelingtruth.net.
All right, guys, we're back. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, here with Anthony Cervino, Dan Siegel, and Matt Minich. We are waiting for the Packers. The pick is in. Just waiting for it to be revealed.
Jair Alexander.
Damn. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. You miss all the time. Let's see. We're just like Mel Kiper right now, guys. All right, next up. This is a team that I think could go with one of those tight ends here too, Matt Minich. That's the Dallas Cowboys. Matt? Anthony Cervino, what do you think about Dallas and the possibility of a tight end?
I could see it with Jason Witten. His years are winding down, and I know they've always looked for that number 2 tight end. I know it's a passing league. They went with Gavin Escobar that didn't pan out years ago, but they also have Rico Gathers sitting behind Witten, and they're very high on him from a few drafts ago. I actually see Dallas going with that linebacker, Van Der Esch, right now.
Me too, because I thought they wanted him to begin with. Matt Minich, what's your take here?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm unmuted from the commercial break now, and
would have been nice if you'd have been back when I asked you the question, but Anthony bailed you out.
I was here and I was talking. I just didn't realize I was still I had still muted myself. So, yeah, you know, I think Van Der Esch makes a lot of sense. It's been a popular move for him, and you know, getting that linebacker to solidify things makes a lot of sense. That would be my pick. I could definitely see them adding a guard here because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's how they had so much success recently was having a solid offensive line for Ezekiel Elliott to run behind. But I think Van Der Esch is most likely the pick.
All right, Dan?
You know, I thought Green Bay had jumped in front of Dallas to go wide receiver. Obviously, they didn't, but I still think Dallas gets Dez's replacement right here, and they go Calvin Ridley.
I hope not. As a Cowboys fan, I would hate it. You can get you a wide receiver in the second round.
Yeah. But let's see. We have a question on Spreaker for Anthony. The question is from Eric from Arlington, Texas. He wants to know if you think that the Cowboys have a shot to win the division from the Eagles this year.
You know, as a fan, of course, I want to say yes, but right now the Eagles are in clear control of that division. They're the superior team. The Cowboys have 10 draft picks, and they have to use them correctly. They have to get Dak a wide receiver that's going to catch the ball and has a good rapport. They have to flow, and they also have to shore up the defensive side of the ball. You know, another hole they have to fill is at the left tackle because Tyron Smith isn't going to last forever.
All right, we got time for a follow-up question. It's just like a presidential debate. He also wants to know if you are worried that Dak Prescott may not be the answer after what he calls sophomore slump.
Absolutely. I said this on the FF Face-Off. This is going to be the year that we find out if Dak Prescott is for real or do we need to go look for a quarterback. There's no more Dez Bryant to drop balls. You can't blame Dez anymore. You got Dez out. Dak Prescott now has to step in, be the leader, and make it happen. Otherwise, I'm not sure if he's going to be anything more than the fourth-round pick that he was.
Well, my question is, the offensive line wasn't as good last year, which I think had some effect on that also. Didn't you guys sign a new offensive line coach?
He's baiting you now.
Yeah, I am. You got the Pillsbury Doughboy, right? Paul Alexander?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, well, you're screwed then. And Eric from Arlington, you're not going to the playoffs. You have been denied playoff access until you get rid of that fat tub of goo. I'm not a huge Paul Alexander fan, by the way.
I could tell.
Seriously, he's a terrible judge of talent. He's a horrible coach. And I don't know. Matt Minich, you want to talk about Paul Alexander a little bit? Maybe he's listening in.
I'll pass. He had his good years, you know, and I think it passed him by a little bit.
What years were his good years?
They were in the early 90s.
There was no good years in Cincinnati in the 90s, Matt. Come on.
No, I think I think they definitely need to improve the offensive line. The other thing, moving on from Dez, Dez isn't a guy that really got open, and Dak is not. Dak's a quarterback that likes his receivers to be open.
He's not going to throw you.
He's not a big contested ball. Yeah, so I think getting a Ridley. I mean, I don't think it's the move, but getting a Ridley, getting somebody like that runs good routes and has great speed and can get open, it would definitely make a lot of sense. And in this draft, it doesn't have a lot of any real clear-cut number one receiver. You could see them putting a value on that. So there's definitely a lot of things going on around them that you're not getting a great beat on. You're not putting those two young guys into the right situation with a struggling line and the struggling receiver core. Sounds pretty familiar to what your O-line coach had last year.
Yeah. Real quick, we have a question for David on Spreaker. He wants to know if you think there's a shot that Courtland Sutton could go here. He believes that Courtland is better than Kirk. Anybody? Anthony.
I think Courtland Sutton's a day 2 pick, and I know Jason Garrett already came out and said we like Courtland Sutton, but not until day 2, and I think that's the direction they're going to go. I think they're going to wait on receiver.
Yeah, I think it's possible you get a tight end here, too. And I think the kid from Penn State, what the heck was his last name? Mike?
Gesicki.
Gesicki.
I think he's possible here. I also think, of course, we have to say Dallas Goedert since he was from South Dakota State, like Matt Minich, because Matt has to bring up Dallas Goedert on it. We did a show on punters in Dallas. Dallas Goedert came up in Matt Minich's top 3. Just because they came from the same place.
The pick is in, and Rappaport says that the Cowboys did extensive work on Van Der Esch before the draft.
Well, does that mean they picked him?
I guess we're about to find out.
We do have other breaking news that the Pittsburgh Steelers have traded Martavis Bryant to the Raiders for their 3rd-round pick, which is the 75th overall.
All right. I'm good with that. You good with that, Matt?
Yeah, I can live with that.
That's a Gruden.
All right, we're still waiting for the pick to be in. Who picked Ridley? Because everybody else went Van Der Esch, right?
Yeah, I'm the Ridley guy.
Dan?
Yep.
I'm starting to get used to your voices now. I want to remind everybody you can catch us on the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show every week during the season, also every Wednesday night. We usually have former NFL player Mark Cooper, played for the Denver Broncos through the 1980s and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe we'll have the FF face-off guys on every once in a while. Let them pick the games. Let's see. Still waiting. Still got nothing. They're going to milk this because they got all those people in Dallas going.
I was going to say, I don't think they brought out enough people.
Yeah, they're still waiting. Roger Staubach was there, right?
What is this, a high school all-star team?
Might be. Pee-wee team's going to go out and play at halftime.
I mean, come on.
Got to milk.
They're all trying out to be. They're all trying out to be Dak's next receiver.
Yeah. Well, Losey doesn't have to throw him open. He'll be fine.
I was like, he can't go above 20 yards either.
So, Anthony, where are you?
Leighton Van Der Esch.
There we go. All right. So, the only one wrong there was Dan, who is now tied with Anthony.
I love this move here for the Cowboys. They're plugging that hole that just in case something happens with Sean Lee or Jalen Smith, they're adding another linebacker here. Outstanding move, and I am almost positive they're going to go wide receiver at the 2nd round. And it wouldn't surprise me if they traded back into the 1st for a receiver. They have 10 picks.
Because you can do it at the end of that round. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions. They always need a running back, but they always need a pass rush also. Dan, what do you think with the Detroit Lions?
You know, we keep talking about Geis and how he might be in the 1st round. The Lions are one of those teams that are, you know, if you want to say dumb enough to do it. Man. I'm going to go Geis for the time being. I might change that.
All right. Anthony?
I'm going to roll with Darius Geis here as well. They've been looking for a running back for years. Abdullah wasn't it. Riddick's a pass receiving back. LeGarrette Blount, how many years does he have left? Plus, he was probably just brought there for leadership because he's been to a Super Bowl the past few years and a Patriots connection. Lions go running back here. Darius Geis.
All right. I think the Lions go Harold Landry here. They got Alshon Robinson last year. I think he's a promising player. But the thing that stands out to me is Detroit's coaching staff's really familiar with Landry because the new defensive coordinator there, Paul Pasqualoni, was Landry's defensive line coach at Boston College the past 2 seasons. I think it gives him a pass rusher here. I think to go Landry. My other possibility is I think there's 3 really good fits for the Lions here, and that's Landry, Taven Bryan from Florida, who I think is very underrated, and I think he might be the best defensive tackle in this draft, and Justin Reed, the safety from Stanford, I think would be a perfect fit for Matt Patricia's defense. He's very versatile. But I'm going to go Harold Landry. What do you think, Matt Minich?
Yeah, I like Landry a lot. I think Geis would make some sense. The other offensive skill guy I think would make some sense would be going for a tight end, like a Dallas Goedert. I'll throw that one out there. Obviously, Matt Patricia has been around New England long enough to know that if you can get a dude at that position who can make some big-time plays for you, that puts a defense in a bad situation. So it wouldn't surprise me that much. But I think defensive line makes the most sense here. Harold Landry is the first guy that comes to mind. You mentioned the connection there, and then we've got Ezekiel Ansah that got the franchise tag, so no telling if he'll be back after next year. So they could transition Landry into that role. And then the other thing I would look at here, you make a weird point with Brian, but Maurice Hurst, Michigan guy, so he's local in that way. He also went to Zavarian Brothers High School in Massachusetts, and that's the high school that Patriots kids go to, and he is technically a Patriots kid from long ago. But that's where Vince Wilfork's kid went there. So there's a little bit of a tie-in there with Patricia, kind of a second, third degree tie-in, but a little bit of a tie-in there. Surprising familiarity. Obviously, it depends on the medicals, but Maurice Hurst would be an interesting one because they definitely need interior D-line help as well at this spot. So I'm gonna go with Landry though. Although I think Hurst would make a ton of sense. If it wasn't for the recent news that Hurst might be falling really far because of his medicals, I would probably go with Hurst, but I'll go with Landry.
All right. So we got. I hate when I hit that and I mute myself. So we got 2 with Landry, and I wrote that down somewhere. Anthony and Dan, what do you have?
We both took Geis.
Geis, yeah. All right, so here in a second, we are going to add former Cincinnati Bengal linebacker Joe Kelly, because the Bengals will be picking right after that unless there's a trade. So maybe Joe will have a little inside information for us. Plus, he's just a damn good guy, so he puts up with me a lot. So Matt will tell you that could be rough.
Looks like the pick's in. I'm sure I need to be able to wait a couple of minutes, but since we got Joe coming on, I didn't know if you wanted to mention the Bengals first, so we give him enough time to talk. I know you were talking about Ragnow.
Yeah. You there, Joe?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's up, Joe Kelly, former Cincinnati Bengal? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Kind of excited down here at the Paul Brown Stadium with a bunch of alumni guys and a bunch of fans. Looking like we're looking pretty good based on what everybody was talking about. I don't think any of the centers that got drafted yet. So looking like it.
Yeah, and we're here. We got Anthony Cervino, who does a fantasy football show for us with Dan Cervino. I just screwed your name up, didn't I, Dan?
Dan Siegel.
We'll call him Dan Severin. Makes him sound tougher. Dan Siegel. And, of course, Matt Minich. You've been on the show with Matt before. Real quick, I'm going to bring up, if you're free next week, Tony Pike, former UC Bearcat, Carolina Panther quarterback, wants to come on and do a post-draft show with us sometime next week, if you're up for that also, Joe.
You know what? I'll actually be on a cruise from Sunday to Sunday.
Well, we'll do it on Saturday or Monday.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
All right, so what do you think the Bengals do here, Joe?
I can't see them. You got to see what the Lions. The Lions don't select that. They took him. I was just going to say we select that center, but Detroit took him.
That's the guy I wanted.
The kid from Arkansas.
Frank Ragnow.
Yes, yeah. That was the pick. That was the consensus down here, Mike. That it was going to be that kid from Arkansas, but we just got beat. We just got beat to the punch.
Yeah, that never happens, does it, Joe?
Yeah. Story about life. Huh?
All right, let's jump around real quick, and then we'll come back to Joe because we should have a few minutes to do this. Anthony Cervino, what's your take on the Bengals and what they're going to do here?
I know the Bengals, you wanted them to target Radkow, who just went to the Detroit Lions. Bengals defense is aging. What about Rasheed Evans right here at linebacker?
Joe, what's your take on Rasheed Evans from Alabama? You there, Joe? Yeah, we might have lost Joe. Rasheed Evans.
No, I'm here, Mike.
Okay. What's your take on a linebacker? You know your linebackers, Joe, since you played that position. What's your take on Rasheed Evans?
He's a player. He's a player. You know, I think we lost the guy that they really wanted. So I think that in my opinion, being that he's not there, that we can go linebacker and we can possibly get a center, in the second round.
All right, Matt Minich, what do you think the Bengals do here?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Ragnow was the center that I wanted in the first round. I'm comfortable waiting. Might be moving up, but I'm comfortable waiting and looking at Price or Daniels in the second. This makes me think of when Will Fuller went right before the Bengals wanted a receiver, and they kind of flipped out and went to William Jackson. So kind of makes me think they're going to take Josh Jackson, just default to taking the best DB on the board. But what's that?
I've got something a little different here. Are you going with Josh Jackson?
No. Half joke in there. I'm actually going to go with Connor Williams.
Connor Williams?
I think, with Ragnow off the board, they haven't really shown interest in going guard, and I think Williams can play tackle. I think they take him and look at him for either right tackle or right guard. With that position. Now, I'd rather move back, maybe look at getting Daniels for Price at the end of the first round. But I'll go with Connor Williams here.
All right, Dan Siegel.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they overreact to Ragnow going off the board and just go, to the next guy down and Daniels. But yeah, I'm gonna go Evans.
All right. I'm going to go completely different. I'm going to go Justin Reed, safety from Stanford. The Bengals last year, Joe, a lot of that problem was, especially the last 2 years since losing Reggie Nelson, they don't really have a guy back there to play center field at the safety position. And I'm going to pose this question to both you and Matt, since you're Bengal guys. Am I crazy here with the Justin Reed thing, Joe?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think that's kind of a stretch, Mike. I see the Bengals. They didn't waste a lot of time, so they probably have their mind made up if the center, the kid from from Arkansas was gone. So the Bengals could be just looking at the best player available, and not necessarily go for what we need.
Hey, how about this? Is Harold Landry gone yet, Matt Minich?
No, Harold Landry would be an interesting one there. It'd be an eventual replacement for Dunlap if they want to just focus their money on bringing back Geno. And
yeah, if you're going best player available, to me, you could see him go there also.
Yeah, I mean, I think Landry, Jackson, probably got to be the two best players available right now.
We'll let Joe announce the pick when he hears it.
Billy Price, Ohio State center.
Damn. All right. That's who I kind of figured they would pick. But what's your take on Billy Price?
The Bengals fans, Mike, down here are pretty excited about that pick.
Yeah, but remember, Joe, they're Buckeye fans too.
Yeah. They're really excited down here, man. So, we wanted a kid from Arkansas, but, he's a good athlete. He's not really a real big guy. So, we hope we don't get, the second coming of Bodine, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll be rooting for him, though.
Well, I don't think he can be as bad as Russell Bodine. No matter what.
Yeah.
That can't happen. But, all right, Joe. Hey, we'll let you go.
Okay, all right, thanks, buddy.
We'll let you get back to the party. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, guys. What do you think, Matt? Billy Price?
I don't love the value. I like the player. I don't love the value. I didn't see him as a first-round talent, and I saw him as maybe going towards the end of the first round at the earliest. I wouldn't have minded trading back into the first round or trading back and getting him, but I don't think it's a great value here. It's definitely an improvement, and I think he's a good player, and he was my next center, just kind of narrowly in front of James Daniels. But I think they could have gotten better value by maybe going for another lineman or going for best available, and then trying to trade into the round or just trading back and trying to pick up some stuff in the process.
Breaking news, the Titans have traded up to 22.
There you go.
That's got to be Evans now, right?
Yeah, I would.
I don't know who they're going in front of.
Yeah, I would think that's who they're going for.
Yeah, I mean, that's the last linebacker that's worth picking in the first round.
Time.
All right, so everybody was wrong on the last one. So on this one, I'm going to go Evans. Does everybody agree, or anybody got something different?
Nope, I'm with you.
I like Evans. And they traded in front of the Patriots, and the Patriots already got a Bama backer. They love Bama players. They could use a linebacker, so it makes sense to get in front of the Patriots to take him, especially with him being the last linebacker that's going to be worth taking on the first day.
All right, guys. So we got the Titans up next, then the New England Patriots. And with the Patriots could do just about anything, Anthony.
Yeah, the Patriots can do anything here, but they did lose. They lost Nate Solder, and they also lost the number 2 behind Solder to Dallas. So I think the New England Patriots are going to address the tackle or the guard position here. And what about a player like Isaiah Wynn or Will Hernandez?
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Will Hernandez here.
Oh, to me, I think Isaiah Wynn is worlds better than Will Hernandez. No disrespect, but when I watch this film, Isaiah Wynn can play all 3 positions. Will Hernandez is a guy, if you watch his film, I know Matt Minich watches a lot of film, but I'll digress to you here, Matt, because you watch more film than I do, because I got to do the boxing show and the basketball show and all that crap. But when I watch the film, to me, Isaiah Wynn is worlds better. And the reason that all of a sudden Will Hernandez is so popular with everybody, to me, is the combine. And I'm not saying Hernandez is a bad player, because I think he's going to be a starter in this league for a long time. I just think that he's more of a second-round pick. And I think Isaiah Wynn is a guy that, behind Quentin Nelson, I thought was the best offensive lineman in this draft.
Yeah, I like Wynn a lot. He definitely has a lot of athleticism, and he's a big, strong guy that can move people too. Does a good job both on down blocking and on kicking around to the outside when they would pull him out, and did a good job in pass pro despite his size. in the SEC. So with Hernandez, I think he's similar to Billy Price. Like, he's got a lot of fight in him, but he's got some issues. So, you know, I'm not a huge fan of his. I much like Price, I see him as maybe he could go at the end of the first round, but personally, I grade him out as an early second round type of talent. So I think, you know, he's got that fight in him and he's got some strength, but his feet get tight a lot and he gets high and it looks like he gets tired as the play goes along. His technique gets worse in those situations. So, yeah, I wouldn't go with him here. I think the Patriots are pretty good at the guard spot, to be honest with you. I could see Wynn or Daniels or Connor Williams being a pick if they believe they can play tackle. But they also lost Malcolm Butler and Jackson's sitting there. I like the two corners that have already gone as better fits for the Patriots. But with Jackson there, that might be a hard one to pass up.
All right, so do we all agree on this one?
And the Titans take Evans.
Okay, so we all got that one. All right, I think it's a good pick. Let's see, who do we got up next?
New England.
So many trades, I'm getting confused, Anthony. That's why I don't play fantasy football. Too many numbers, I get confused.
You never played fantasy?
I don't play fantasy football. I always told everybody if I was going to be in a fantasy, there'd have to be at least 3 other women there. Come on, that was funny. Matt used to laugh at it, but he's heard it too much by now.
I was letting it go. I was like,
I know, it died.
We're going to see how that lands.
Anybody here that think the Patriots go after Gesicki or Goddard at tight end?
I could.
With all the uncertainty surrounding Rob Gronkowski.
No, they're going tight end.
Gronkowski officially came out yesterday and said he's coming back next year.
Yeah, he's playing. But still, he gets hurt a lot.
But they need the number 2.
And they were at their best when they had that number 2 guy.
I know it's taboo. I think Aaron Hernandez is taboo bringing his name up, but that Patriot tight end combo was deadly back then.
Literally, it was deadly.
Oh, shoot.
That was worse than Mike's jokes.
I know, that was way worse. At least I didn't talk about killing people. All right.
They're going to use that. They're going to use that second pick on a tight end. They're not going tight end here.
Yeah.
What about Mason Rudolph?
No, they would go Jackson before Rudolph.
Right.
Yeah,
I've heard
Jackson's still there, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Matt Minich, who do Patriots take?
I mean, you know, all the talks behind Jackson. You know, there's been some talk about Mason. Belichick never does what people would expect him to do. I really think that their biggest needs are at corner and an offensive tackle. I don't know that I see another tackle going between now and their next pick, so I'm going to go with Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, Matt Minich.
No,
Anthony.
Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson.
I'm going Josh Jackson.
All right. Go to Dan. Let me ponder this for a second.
All right, Dan. Anthony's whining again. Who you got?
Yeah. I'm really tempted to take Lamar Jackson here because it's total Belichick. But much like Mike said, they have a need at offensive tackle. And there's an offensive tackle that the Patriots have been all over here for a few weeks. So I'm going to go with Colton Miller.
He was already picked.
No. All right, well, fine then. I'm going Lamar Jackson then. See?
All right. So, Anthony.
I'm torn between Connor Williams and the tight end, and I think they're going to go after tight end here, Mike Gesicki.
Mike Gesicki. All right.
You couldn't have thrown out Goddard just so I wouldn't be the one that said it.
Did you already pick Josh Jackson now?
No. I'm just joking around.
All right.
I never actually picked him.
I think this might be crazy, but I think that this could come down between DJ Moore, the wide receiver, and Tavian Bryant. Remember, the Patriots acquired this pick in the Brandon Cooks trade. Might use the opportunity to find a replacement they think might be better. From what I hear, they like more. Tavian Bryant, I mean, the Patriots' pass rush was not very good. That gives them a push up the middle. So right now,
wait a minute.
What?
I'm forgetting. Harold Landry's still there.
I know. That's my other one.
I might need a second.
They've got Landry. You've got Bryan. You got Moore. Now.
Yeah, I'll go Landry over Jackson. Yeah, I'm switching to Landry.
Well, it's too late for that. It just is. We voted on this before you got on with us, and Anthony said, no, whatever you picked the first time, you got to go with it.
Hey, pick's not in.
Huh?
So the pick's not in.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Landry also. But I still, as I think about this, I still like Tavian Bryant. But I'm going to go with Landry.
They did trade for Danny Shelton from the Browns, so they have Brennan, one interior guy already.
Yeah, well, they need a good one yet, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Danny Shelton thing to me, I missed that one a couple years on the draft show. I thought he was going to be a good football player. But then again, in his defense, he did go to Cleveland.
Happens to the best of us.
No, I wouldn't get on that bus or plane or whatever it is. You don't want to go to Cleveland. All right. The Patriots still got 3:44. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with the Patriots pick. After the Patriots pick, we'll have the Carolina Panthers. We will be back after this word from our sponsors.
Hey, sports fans. Chris and Graham here from the Grueling Truth Network.
Baseball's boring. It's too slow. Where's the fun in it? If you think that, then why the hell aren't you listening to Out of Left Field with us on thegruelingtruth.net?
On our show, we make baseball way more than just a bunch of numbers. You laugh with us, probably yell at us, and hopefully learn a thing or two from us.
Ever wonder what it's like to be a major league umpire or why they made the call they did? Lucky for you, we have our own umpire on the show, even have big league umpires stopping by from time to time, and even the occasional big leaguer or two.
And all of that's just the first 10 minutes. Come on by and join the fun. Listen to Out of Left Field with Grant and me every week on thegruelingtruth.net, and give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook.
Just search Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham and like our page on Facebook, or use our Twitter handle @OOLeftField. It's that simple. See you all this week when we put the ball in play on Out of Left Field.
All right, guys, we're back on the Grueling Truth live NFL Draft Show. We are almost 3 hours in with myself, Mike Goodpaster, Matt Minich, Dan Siegel, and Anthony Cervino. Make sure you check out Anthony and Dan twice a week during the season with the FF Face-Off. Absolutely.
And Sports Talk Uncut.
And Sports Talk Uncut. Have we had that one on ours yet?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Okay. Where did that show go?
It's still hanging around.
All right. Were you guys doing a wrestling show?
Yeah, we do all three, and there's also a third party, Michael Hoff, who couldn't be here tonight.
Well, where'd the wrestling show go? Because I was waiting for like a post, whatever it is, on WrestleMania.
That's also still going.
I know, but I just hadn't heard the show in a while. All right, the Patriots pick is in as we kill time and talk about wrestling. And then, Matt, we will have you on to wrap up the draft with Tony Pike then if Joe can't do it.
Sounds good to me.
All righty. Says Joe's on a cruise.
It's Wynn.
I am not on a cruise.
Isaiah Wynn. That is a outstanding pick.
Huh.
Typical New England pick.
It's a little surprising to me. I think they got to think he can play tackle. And
I think he can.
Solder. Yeah, I agree. But Solder was such a huge guy that I wondered if they really would think that he or Connor Williams could do it. I would have thought they were leaning towards Williams, but Yeah, that's got to be the direction they're going with it.
All right, next up we get the Carolina Panthers, and you would think here you got to go wide receiver, tight end, or cornerback. What's your take on the Panthers and what they might do and what they will do, Dan Siegel?
Yeah, cornerback is definitely a need for them. They went Christian McCaffrey last year. He's not really the workhorse type. They lost Jonathan Stewart. Would they reach for a running back? I don't think that I agree. They're probably going to go on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, Ward might be the pick here.
All right, so who'd you take?
I'll go Ward.
All right, Matt Minich.
Sorry. I definitely think with Ridley off the board, corners are what makes the most sense. And Josh Jackson's a guy that was expected by some to go in the top half of this thing, still sitting there. I think Josh Jackson's the guy.
All right. Yeah, I like Josh Jackson more than Denzel Ward. I know you don't agree with me, and neither does anybody else, but I really don't care. Anthony, Carolina Panthers.
I think the Carolina Panthers could target a wide receiver. They need pass catchers. They extended Greg Olsen today, a 2-year deal for the veteran tight end. I think they're going to address the wide receiver position. And DJ Moore seems like a good fit. He gets comps to Stephon Diggs, and he's a speedster. And Cam Newton had a lot of success with the speedy Ted Ginn a few years back.
All right. What about a guy like Hayden Hurst? I mean, I know they upped Olsen 2 years, but he's getting older, and New England showed it doesn't hurt to have two tight ends. And the question here is, Matt Minich, can Hayden Hurst stretch the field?
I mean, I see Hurst as one of the more balanced guys. I'm not a huge supporter of him. I know he is seen by some as being the top guy. I think it would make more sense to go receiver here if you did want to go on offense. I do like the DJ Moore pick. I think a Michael Gallup might be another one that could make some sense. Might be a little bit of a reach, but those are guys that were seen as guys that could potentially sneak into the first round. If they're going to go offense, I think a receiver would make more sense than tight end.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going DJ Moore. I'm going with Dan on this one. I think it was Dan that picked him, right?
Anthony.
All right, I'll figure this out before we're done, or right as we're done.
From now on, you're both D'Anthony.
Huh? Yeah, you're both.
From now on, you're both D'Anthony.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way. D'Anthony would be nice, and plus it's just really cool.
D'Anthony.
Yeah, nobody else is named D'Anthony. I mean, come on. But we do have a question for the Giants fan from Joe in New Jersey. He wants to know what your take is on the Giants' offseason moves so far.
They got Solder because they missed out on Norwell, so second best offensive lineman out there, so they went and did that. I mean, Gettleman has done what he can, what he can do. I mean, I don't think we can fully put a grade on him until we see how this draft plays out. I mean, he didn't have the most money to work with in free agency. I'm still a big proponent for bringing Dez in. Use that $5 million that you saved on Brandon Marshall and bring Dez in with Saquon in the fold now, and Odell and Ingram. Dez wouldn't have to be a focal point. And the one thing that Eli always had and worked well with in the Super Bowl days was a tall receiver, a guy that he could play the jump ball with down at the goal line. Dez fits that mold. I think if they brought Dez in, it would be another big boost to the offense, which they obviously at least attempted to upgrade here tonight with Saquon.
All All right. Let's see. Who do we got picking after this?
After Carolina is Baltimore,
Ravens.
unless they trade for the 400th time tonight.
Yeah. Well, it happens, especially with the Ravens. And you would have to think the Ravens would go defense, but we've still got Lamar Jackson sitting there. And I can tell you this, as a Bengals fan, Matt, I would have nightmares if Lamar Jackson goes to Pittsburgh.
I mean, one division coming out of this with Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, that's nobody deserves that. So,
the thing is,
that'd be a rough
it is DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. Wow. All right. I believe me and Anthony nailed that. Correct?
Yes. Am I starting to come up in the standings?
You are at 6. Dan is at 7. I am at 9. Matt is at 7.
All right. Closing the gap.
So the correct answer is no.
Correct answer is you're gaining on Dan, Anthony.
Closing the gap.
If that's good enough. Yeah. As long as you beat Dan, you'll be fine, because then you got bragging rights. But I'm up.
He's got to win. He's got to win something.
If this keeps up, I own all of you. So, and Matt, I guarantee you watch a lot more film than I do.
I do, but you know what? I analyze the players. I don't analyze what the teams are thinking. So,
yeah. Well, I'm a Bengals fan. I learned a long time ago the most important thing is what the team is thinking, and the most important thing I learned there is my team isn't thinking. The Baltimore Ravens, Matt, they're in the Bengals division. What do they do here? Lamar Jackson sitting here also.
Yeah, he's sitting around there. You can always see them just going for talent, especially on defense. But they're in desperate need of a center, and 2 are off the board now. I got to think they go for James Daniels.
All right. Dan?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process, too. I was thinking maybe Landry for the defensive side, but, with Flacco's back problems, they need to try and beef up that line as much as possible.
All right. Anthony?
I keep thinking all these tight ends are going to go, and the Ravens are another team that need a tight end. They don't have Ben Watson anymore. Pitt is obviously done with his hip. A few years back, Pitt was targeted over 100 times, 80 balls. They love targeting the tight end. The Baltimore Ravens addressed the wide receiver position in free agency. This is where we can see Hayden Hurst go.
All right. I agree with you on the tight end. I think this is where Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. I am going with Goedert. I think you're going to see Goedert go here, or you're going to see Lamar Jackson surprise everybody, but I'm going with Goedert. There you go. Now you should feel fat. It
would figure he'd go to like one of very few teams that I wouldn't buy a jersey of ever.
South Dakota State.
Hey,
that one I would.
If we're still giving out tenths of points, I want one if Jackson goes here. I called that like 13 picks ago before they started trading every 5 minutes.
All right, you'll get a tenth of a point too. I guess. What the hell? I'll give out all kind of tenths of points because it's going to take a lot of them here. Let's see. Do we have Atlanta as the next pick after this?
Yes.
Okay. They're an interesting team too. And they're a team that also needs a center, so you could see James Daniels go there too. But Baltimore, I think it's always kind of a crapshoot with what they do. And we have a question for Matt Minich. He wants to know, let's see, what's his name? Oh, I can barely read. James from Claremont, Ohio, wants to know if you believe anybody in the AFC North has a chance to challenge the Steelers next year.
Yeah, because I don't think the Steelers are that good. I think really all along, I think the defenses in the division that used to be really good at it all fell off, and the Steelers are no different there. But at the end of the day, they developed. They have some really good offensive players. They've got the best quarterback in the division, and they developed a talented receiver core, and they kind of started to get hot and grew as the season went. But I don't think that they're as good as they used to be. So I absolutely think that that somebody could step up and make a push for it. Even though all three of those teams are pretty far away right now.
Which team do you think is the closest to doing that?
I mean, probably the Bengals right now, to be honest with you. Adding 2 offensive linemen now, if Billy Price is ready to go with Cordy Glenn in there, that's going to make that offense, a lot better. And putting Preston Brown on the defense fixes that up a little bit. Getting a new defensive coordinator in there. If that defense can get back to what it was a couple years ago, and they get some blocking, maybe somebody steps up at receiver, I could definitely see them making a push and making it competitive in there. Browns have a decent roster, but they're pretty far away. Just kind of more than anything from a mental standpoint, I think. But I don't see the Browns making that push. That'd be a huge jump for them. And I think the Ravens have a lot of issues. Even with the receivers they brought in, it's a bunch of old timers, and I don't really see them doing anything offensively. They don't have a running back who's really dynamic at all. Flacco's getting up there and he's always hurt. And their defense isn't quite what it used to be either. So I think if anybody has a chance, it's the Bengals.
Man, you almost talked me into changing my pick to the Ravens taking Lamar Jackson. Because it would make sense, because I think it was Dan or Anthony brought up before, with Joe Flacco's back, you really don't know what's going on there. And if Flacco goes down and you don't draft somebody here or find somebody, your season's shot to crap right there anyways, Dan.
Yeah, they went basically up to the final minute of week 1 not knowing what Flacco's status was going to be. And even times during the season, Flacco's back was an issue. I mean, he didn't miss much time, but it was always an issue. And, let's be honest, he's getting up there in age. Not everybody is Tom Brady, who's cryogenically frozen and is going to play till he's 500. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to start thinking future and have Jackson be there, even if he's got to sit for a year.
All right, real quick, Matt. Who are some guys here that you think could make impacts that haven't been picked yet that could fall to tomorrow or may go a little bit later tonight?
I've been a little surprised at how defensive backs haven't come off as quickly as we thought. Josh Jackson was somebody that was expected to be taken up high by most people. Both of the guys that were proclaimed as too short went ahead of him. I think Jackson, I think Taven Bryan, could definitely see him going in the next few picks here. But Taven Bryan is one that stands out. Maurice Hurst, we don't know what the medical situation is there, but those are probably the top guys on defense. Flipping over to offense, there's going to be some receivers dropping off. DJ Moore ended up being the second guy taken, and I think Washington and Sutton definitely are going to go into day 2. Could see one other guy sneak in there, but there'll definitely be some good ones available there from Gallup, Anthony Miller maybe.
The pick is in.
Who knows what's going to happen with these tight ends?
Hayden Hurst is the pick.
Yes.
There you go.
Who got that, Dan?
Anthony.
Oh,
and we're tied.
Behind. Yeah, 7.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst is more of an inline guy than Gesicki and Goddard. You think he spends a little bit more time at a 3-point stance. So that does make some sense for what they did with their tight end there. I think they. I don't know. I think you could add something a little bit more dynamic to that offense, but it does make sense with what they get out of their tight end.
All right, next up we got the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to jump in on this because I think this is a no-brainer for them. I would take Taven Bryan. I think he fits in with their defense. What's your take, Matt?
Yeah, I think he's a real common pick to them, and I think he has been throughout draft season. Very athletic guy, and they love to be fast on defense. That's how they got good on defense. Is they got younger and they got faster. So plugging him in there where they had Dontari Poe would make quite a bit of sense. Adding speed, getting faster on defense.
Do you think that's the way they'll go?
Yeah. That's what I'm going to go with is Brian. Yep.
All right. Anthony.
I could see the Falcons going offensive line with Daniels or Hernandez, but I'm going to go with the flow. I like Taven Bryan to replace Dontari Poe on the defensive side of the ball.
All right. Dan?
Yeah, no fun here. We all went the same.
Well, that's fine, though, because that keeps me in the lead. And I am up 2, so pretty soon you guys are going to be mathematically eliminated. Real quick, we are going to take a 1-minute station break. We will be back with the Atlanta Falcons pick in just a minute.
Tune in to Game Day IQ for the smartest hour in sports. Test your knowledge of sports trivia on everything from football, basketball, and baseball to cricket, tennis, and hockey to horse racing, auto racing, and soccer, and, of course, the Olympics. Every week, you'll learn tantalizing details of sports' most intriguing conundrums that you can stump your friends with.
Find out what sports figure needs a remedial trip to Coach Buck's bench. Settle in for story time with Uncle Bucky. See if this is the week that I go off on a Category 5 level rant. Learn whose performance on or off the playing surface deserves a special place on this week's pedestal. All that plus a variety of other features that all add up to the most cerebral hour in sports this week. Oh, and you'll have fun too. So raise your game day IQ by joining me, host Chris Cook and
Alan Buck, for an informative look at this week in sports right here at thegruelingtruth.net.
All right, guys, we're back. I'm Mike Goodpaster with Mike Minich, Dan Siegel, Anthony Cervino on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. NFL Live Draft Special. I think Atlanta's pick is already in. We're just waiting for it to be announced, aren't we, Dan?
Yeah, pick in.
All righty. They jumped on that pretty quick, too. So maybe they're thinking like we are.
Yeah, I don't know what other way they could go besides D-tackle right here.
I had a couple other thoughts, but, I mean, I think they need a center. I think you can see James Daniels maybe here. But outside of that, this is a team that's, I mean, still, they got a lot of parts. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Calvin Ridley, there you go, wide receiver from Alabama.
You know what? This pick is more interesting based off of the last week with Julio Jones and everything that's gone on with him taking down everything associated with, him in Falcon jerseys and everything like that. We don't know what the situation is, but maybe they're planning ahead.
Yeah, I'd say probably the best thing that could be done there would be, I don't know, Matt, maybe you'd be with me on this. Maybe just trade Julio Jones to the Bengals. We'll give them Billy Price. Then they got their center. See, Matt forgot to unmute himself again.
He can't find the button, apparently.
Yeah, well, he's a Bengals fan. Stuff like that happens.
I didn't unmute myself again.
I know. That's why we were sitting here talking.
That explains why nobody reacted when I was like, the Falcons could go receiver here too, which I actually did. I didn't change my pick,
whatever.
but I actually did.
Nobody cares now. Nobody cares. That's old news. That would be like me saying, "Oh, the Ravens could pick a tight end named Hayden Hurst."
Well, the Falcons did lose Taylor Gabriel, which they're not really getting the same kind of guy here. They're getting another guy that can spread the field, and the guy who really fits a lot more into Julio's role than he does into Taylor Gabriel. So, I mean, adding another receiver here makes sense. Now they've got three pretty big guys, and some guys that can run in there too. So that's it could be a real interesting offense if they stick with it. But yeah, they definitely could be looking to make a move, maybe something contract related with Julio.
All right, what we got up next? Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks. Dan, what do you see Seattle doing?
I'm going to go Harold Landry.
Oh, we all forgot about Harold Landry. We used to all pick him in unison, and then that died down. Yeah, when I look at this team, Anthony, I mean, with Seattle, I think, like I said, there's a lot of holes here. They can go a lot of places.
They need help everywhere, but they're like the New York Giants when it comes to their offensive line. That is their glaring need. And I'm going to go Will Hernandez right here.
All right. Matt.
Yeah, I agree with the O-line take. I don't think they're overly motivated to fill it, though. Just from the feeling I get, there were two guys in this draft that I think are really, really good fits for the Seahawks. One of them is Davenport, who's already gone. The other one is the guy that I keep saying every time it comes up, Josh Jackson. I think Josh Jackson would make a lot of sense. He's a bigger guy. He's a guy that can press and do some bumper run, but also play some zone. He fits into the mold of what they want in a corner. This would be a really great fit for him. With Richard Sherman gone too.
I think Isaiah Oliver from Colorado might fit their defense better, though.
I mean, they're both bigger guys. I think they both definitely will work on that system. But I like Jackson a little bit better.
All right. So who'd everybody pick? Did we get Dan's pick on Seattle?
Dan?
Yeah, I went
Landry?
Yeah, there we go. I forgot.
Anthony, we got you too, right?
Yes, Will Hernandez.
All right, I'm going to go. I could see him going Christian Kirk also.
Yeah, there's definitely a need at wide receiver on the other side of Doug Baldwin. They lost Richardson to the Redskins in free agency. They have Tyler Lockett. They have Armin Darboh from last year's draft. They definitely need help there. Yeah. But again, wide receivers deep. They can get that later.
Yeah. But offensive line is not that great right now. Hernandez is a guard. I'm going to go Isaiah Oliver from Colorado. Just for the hell of it. I'm up 2. I can risk it a little bit.
Try to put it away.
Yeah, if it works out, I'm a genius. If it doesn't, I'm just back to being a normal person like I used to be. I don't know. The thing that worries me, Matt, is Pittsburgh's drafting next, and there's still a certain quarterback there.
Yeah.
But Harold Landry's there, too.
I don't know which one of those is more scary. I think Harold Landry rushing one side and Watt rushing the other. That is terrifying.
Lamar Jackson is still on the board. Is this a spot where somebody can trade up, trade back into the first round here?
Who would you?
Seattle has a lot of needs. They can acquire some more picks.
Yeah. What team do you think, or what teams do you think would be interested in doing that?
And I could keep saying it. I like the New Orleans Saints to make a move on a quarterback.
Matt?
I already know they gave up a lot of picks, but
Denver's still looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to bring up. Matt, talk about that. I will be back in a minute because I got to tell you, my dog's got to pee. I'll just tell you all the truth. But he laid in bed while we did this 4-hour show, and now he's got to go to the bathroom. So I'll be right back. So, Matt, you're in charge, all right?
All right, sounds good. Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Denver take. They always said he's going to keep taking swings. He's going to keep going for guys. Another one I'd say is maybe the Giants. They got their running back. You got Gettleman.
Mike, it's funny, and Anthony, you can attest to this since you do the show with me. I said early on that, and this was before all the hype came for Lamar, the Giants, if they could get Lamar early in the second round, they should do it. I don't know if they feel motivated enough to move up back into the first to do it, but yeah, I was gonna say they didn't take the quarterback in the first, and to come away with Saquon, and then if everybody keeps banging on your quarterback of the future to get that too, that's a win-win on both ends.
Yeah, and you got Gettleman that came from the Panthers. Did they bring in Shula too from the Panthers? The offensive coordinator?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you've got guys that have had success and seen Cam Newton have success. With Lamar being a similar guy, a guy that can not only run, but a guy with a big arm and can stretch the ball vertically down the field. It does make a lot of sense there because you've got some guys there that have had success with a guy with that kind of skill set. So that would definitely make a lot of sense.
I assume if they can get past Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh doesn't take them, the only team between after Pittsburgh and them that they'd have to really concern themselves with is New England.
Yeah. I'd say New England. Yeah, with the Saints already trading up and out of there. Jacksonville would be another one, I guess. The word is, even though they re-up Bortles, the right guy fell to them, they could still take a swing at it. So,
Seahawks pick his name.
What we got?
I'm back. Who did I pick?
Rashard Penny.
Okay, running back. That's the running back.
Was that a serious comment?
Huh? What?
Is this a legitimate news source saying this? Did that really just happen?
That really did happen.
Rashad.
Wow. That is.
I know that Seattle really needs a running back, but
I like Rashad Penny.
I'm speechless.
They need offensive line, and they got a lot of holes on defense. But then again, this is the same team that Pete Carroll hired. He's got two bad coordinators. They've got. I'm telling you, I could see Seattle being in last place this coming year. The only thing that will keep them in third above the Cardinals.
I agree with you there.
But I think the only thing that can keep them ahead of the Cardinals is the fact that they have Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson on any team, no matter how bad they are, can win you 5 or 6 games. But you got to give him some help to do anything more than that, and they just have not done that. We got the Pittsburgh.
He pretty much willed them into the playoffs a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And now we go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are the most miserable team on the face of the earth.
I hate the Steelers.
Yeah, nobody
Just to
likes
make that
the
clear.
Steelers.
As a Cowboys fan, I can't stand them.
Yeah. Well, the only time I ever cheered for the Steelers was when they played the Cowboys. But then over the last 10 to 15 years, I have developed such hatred for the Pittsburgh Steelers that I'm just going to go ahead and just admit that I cheer for the Cowboys over them even. All right, real quick, we are going to add a caller. As soon as I find a number. All right, we are calling Brian Schmidt, who is on the NFL Weekly Pick'em show with us every week. Also a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan and a coach in professional indoor football as a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Cobras. If he answers the phone and if I added the call right. Which right now is debatable. But at least we have it all in the action.
I'm pretty happy that Rashad Evans isn't here because I think Evans would have made a lot of sense for the Steelers. He can play inside and in Shazier's role, and if Shazier's ever able to make it back, he could bump to the outside, has some pass rush ability to him too. So I think that would have been a real good fit for the Steelers. I'm glad he's not here. With backers off the board, I think Reed could make a lot of sense here, going with the safety position.
I think Harold Landry could make sense too.
Yeah, that's a bit terrifying. As I was saying, I think Landry, converting him to off the ball linebacker coming off the edge.
All right.
Would be pretty scary.
Real quick, we got Brian Schmidt. As I said, he coaches in the NAL, which is a professional indoor football league. He also spent some time in prison in Owensboro with me. Y'all don't get the joke, but that's all right. We coached an indoor football team together in Owensboro, and it was pure hell. Brian, what do you want the Steelers to do tonight?
What I want is I want them to pick quarterback here. Is what I really want. Will they? I don't believe so. I'm a big Mason Rudolph guy. That's where I'd like them to go. But in my head, as I look what's on the board, I just have a funny feeling that they're going to go with Harold Landry, or I could see them going with Landry.
All right, Matt Minich, real quick, what's your pick? Dan, what's your pick? I'll come back to you.
Sony Michel.
Is that what it is? Anthony.
Harold Landry.
Matt.
I'll say Landry too.
All right. I'm going to go with Justin Reed, safety from Stanford. Call me crazy. So what's been your biggest takeaway so far from this draft? What's your biggest surprise, Brian?
My biggest surprise was New Orleans, New Orleans going doing all that to pick Marcus Davenport.
Who's not that good.
That was just shocking to me. But I guess in my head I really thought they were going. I'm not a big Marcus Davenport guy. I just don't think that he is a guy that you pick in the first round. So I think that was a big surprise. I did hear on my way home that Steelers traded Bryant for a third round, and I'm completely okay with that. So kind of interesting to see what they pick here. I'll tell you.
I want to change my pick to Harold Landry too, because I forgot about Ryan Shazier being hurt until I saw that. So I'm Harold Landry also.
I'll tell you the pick before Rashad Penny with Seattle, that pick kind of surprised me as well.
Rashad Penny's a huge surprise, I think.
I did not see that one coming. And I like Penny. I just didn't think he was a first round guy, and kind of hard to have a running back when you've got offensive line needs.
Exactly.
Edmonds is the pick.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
Terrell Edmonds, the safety from Virginia Tech. Do I get a 10th of a point for bringing up a safety before? I don't know about this one, Brian.
I don't like this one at all.
Matt Minich?
It seems like a huge reach to me.
I know. This is awesome. I love this pick.
I had heard this. Somebody had this as a hot take that both of the Edmondses were going to go in the first round, and I think it was instantly dismissed as ridiculous by just about anybody, but apparently not by Rooney. Wow.
I think
That's
the
a
last
huge
two
surprise.
picks have been ridiculous. I mean, Terrell Edmonds. I mean, he's a late second round, early third round.
Absolutely, big head scratcher here.
Yeah, this is a horrible pick. Not one that I was even expecting. I don't like this pick at all. This has been the one thing over the years. Sometimes their first round picks, I scratch my head. I think this is a guy easily you could have gotten in the second round. Maybe even a third round. I would have much rather seen them. Obviously, Mason Rudolph was the guy that I kind of in my head would have loved for them to go after. But I mean, Harold Landry to me would have been the pick, but it's not a good one.
All right, next.
Give him an F on this one.
You want to stay with us the rest of the show, Brian?
Yeah, I'll stay.
All right. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, team that made it to the championship game last year. Brian, we'll start off with you. What do you think Jacksonville's going to do here?
Man, I don't know a lot with what Jacksonville needs right now, but I mean, I'm seeing Harold Landry sitting there, and I'm kind of thinking that might be where I'd go. Certainly, I think he may be the best guy on the board right now. Will Hernandez possibly.
Pick is in.
I'm going to say Landry.
Oh, the pick's in for Jacksonville. All right, Matt Minich.
Yeah. Hernandez.
Christian Kirk.
I'm going to go. I don't know. I'll think about it for a second because I like Christian Kirk here. I think Cortland Sutton they could pick here. I'm going to say Josh Jackson, cornerback out of Iowa. I really like Jackson. I think he's better than Denzel Ward, which I know that I'm sitting here with two Ohio State Buckeye fans that are going to disagree vehemently with me, but I like Jackson better. So I think we're going to see Josh Jackson go here. I also think it's possible you could see a tight end like a Dallas Goedert or, Andrews or any of the tight ends left. And that's the other thing when we look at this, Dan, there's still 3 or 4 really interesting tight ends here that could help people left in this draft.
Yeah, the last 3 teams in the first round, Minnesota, New England, and Philadelphia, you can make a case for all of them taking a tight end.
Yeah.
Kyle Rudolph has had injury concerns. We already talked about New England with their desire for 2 tight ends, and Anthony brought up earlier the loss of Trey Burton and Brent Selleck retiring. Have somebody to go behind Zach Ertz.
Now, real quick, Brian, with Jacksonville, they made it to the championship game behind Bortles last year. Do you think that Bortles is a guy that can take them to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl?
I've never really thought that. I think he's a guy who caught lightning in a bottle. But I think we'll see, especially this year. I think we'll see that he'll come back to being more what you expect out of Blake Bortles. I think he's a guy that caught lightning on a bottle. They played good defense, good running game. They put him in a position to not lose football games, but you can't. It's hard to win a championship and win a Super Bowl when your quarterback is very average, and I think he's very average.
Yeah, and Anthony, you kind of get the same take there?
I was like, Anthony's the Blake Bortles apologist.
I'm actually a big Blake Bortles guy. I love what's going on in Jacksonville.
So I'll tell you, I will stick up for him because
in
in that wild card playoff game when he put up those 10 points and he threw for almost 60, 70 yards, I was impressed.
I think Blake Bortles is one of those quarterbacks that he needs confidence. And he has confidence, and he has a team around him that it doesn't have to be on him anymore. They put Blake Bortles in a positive position to go win a football game.
Okay. And against the Patriots, he didn't win that game. And against the Steelers, let's face it, it's not to take a shot at the Steelers, Brian. But the Steelers
Taven Bryan.
Not very good. I love that pick. I forgot all about him. He was my favorite player left on the board, too, dang it. But that's all right, because if everybody's wrong, I'm still up by 2 on everybody. And we're running out of time, guys. There's 3 picks left. I nail this one, and you're mathematically eliminated. Number 30, the Minnesota Vikings. Dan, what do you think here? Because I think you can see a tight end here. I can see offensive line. I can see cornerback even.
Yeah, tight end makes sense, like we said about Kyle Rudolph and his his injury concerns. I'll say I'll throw out Gesicki for now. I'll ponder it.
All right, Anthony.
The Vikings can go multiple ways here, but they're in one of those positions where they can get best available. I want to say Will Hernandez again, but I think they go defense. They still have Terrence Newman, he's in his lesser 40s. Josh Jackson.
All right, Matt.
Terrence Newman not re-signed, so they could use him. They could use a guy there, but I don't think Jackson can play the slot, and that's what Newman was doing for them last year. So I don't know about that pick. I think it's a great value, but I don't know if he'd really be a fit for them unless they think they can plug one of the other guys in there. I'm gonna say Goddard. I'm gonna throw out Goddard because he would make sense with DiFilippo there. That he is the right kind of guy they can move around if they're trying to create like a Philadelphia Eagles type offense, and that would give them something pretty impressive offensively. But I think the pick is Hernandez.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. I think they're gonna go with Will Hernandez.
All right, I think this. I think a reach here at the end of the first round would be Dante Jackson, because I think that he could fill in, take that spot of Terrence Newman, play that spot.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy I like even more to play that position, very versatile, would be Mike Hughes from Central Florida. So I'm going to go with Mike Hughes from Central Florida. Before we get a pick in, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with the Minnesota Vikings pick, and then to wrap up the show with the Patriots and the Eagles. We will be back in about a minute.
Hello, boxing fans. I'm Michael Montero of Montero on Boxing. You may have read my work in Boxing Monthly Magazine, Ring Magazine, or their associated websites, maybe Undisputed Champion Network. Maybe you've heard my segments on NBC Sports Radio or any of the other platforms where I do work regularly. I wanted to invite you to check out my podcast, The Neutral Corner. We upload it every Monday. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course at thegruelingtruth.net. Every week we go over the news, the rumors, the latest fights being put together. We analyze everything, give you the business behind the business, and then we review all the action that took place in the ring during the prior week around the world. Not just the big popular fights, but all the fights, including the little guys. And then, of course, we preview the action coming up this week. Again, Michael Montero, The Neutral Corner, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and thegruelingtruth.net.
All right, guys, we're back. The Minnesota Vikings have picked Mike Hughes, which I think only one of us picked. That Matt Minich. Who was that picked Mike Hughes?
I'm not sure. I have to take the tape back on that one.
That's what I thought. All right. Next up, we get the New England Patriots. The Patriots, I mean, like we said, we never know what he's going to do. Which way do you think he goes here, Matt?
I mean, so they took care of the O-line need. So you look at pass rush, you look at maybe tight end, you look at defensive back. I think Hughes, I like Jackson better overall as a player, but I think Hughes, who just went, was a better fit for them. So I'm not sure if they would go with Jackson. I just don't know if he fits what they're trying to bring in there. They might just stick with McCourty, Jason McCourty, that is. Harold Landry's still out there, and Dallas Goedert's still out there, who I think is of the tight ends, the best, to be a pass catching guy and to fill into that type of role. I'm going to go with Landry. I think it's a great value, and there's not going to be pass rushes after that. I think Landry's the guy.
All right, I'm going to go with Justin Reed here at safety. If you watch the Super Bowl, I mean, you saw New England needs help in the secondary. And the great thing about Justin Reed is I think he fits what Bill Belichick wants to do just because of how versatile he is. He can play all over the secondary. He fills a need for the Patriots Because if you watch the Patriots defensively, they love to run 3 safety formations. And I think with Justin Reid's versatility, you can move him around. You can do a ton of different things with him. So I think Justin Reid's the way to go there. Anthony?
I think this is where New England might target Lamar Jackson.
All right. Dan?
Anthony, I really hope you're wrong. I really do. I'm going to go to the tight end route. I'll go Goddard.
All right. Who'd you pick again, Matt?
Landry.
All right. Brian?
I'm going to go with Mike. I kind of been going back and forth, but I kind of agree with him on Justin Reid. I think that's kind of fits perfectly what Belichick wants to do, and so I think this is one of those times where I think Belichick will kind of go to really fit the need rather than sometimes where he kind of goes with some picks that people scratch their head for a minute and then think, man, this is Belichick. Belichick doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes when it comes to anything he does.
No, he doesn't. He makes no mistakes, except for that Super Bowl where his guard blew up that block, but it wasn't his fault. I think when I look at this, I know I've got him going safety here, but I think another guy that would fit in with them, I know I brought him up earlier, but they didn't take him, Matt, would be Isaiah Oliver, the cornerback from Colorado.
I don't know if he's a great fit there. They tend to like to have one smaller guy and one bigger guy, and they've got a bigger guy in Gilmore. So I think if they go corner, I think they're going to go for somebody who's going to match up better with those Antonio Brown types and those smaller guys. I'm actually I just saw something on Twitter from Jeff Howe. It's a pretty credible source from the Athletic Boston. It says Sony Michel to the Patriots at 31.
Interesting. What you think of that, Dan?
I thought Pittsburgh might go that route, with Le'Veon being, we have no idea if they're going to keep him long term or not. The Patriots always have 500 running backs and don't know how to use any of them. So I don't know how great Sony Michel is, especially, not that you would know anything about this, Mike, but from a fantasy perspective, how can you hop on Sony Michel in the New England backfield?
Well, it's hard to hop on anybody in the New England backfield, though, because
that's my point.
Guy. Yeah,
that's my point. Everybody loved Mike Gillislee for 2 weeks last year, and then he was deactivated.
Yeah,
but then Burkhead
does it. Yeah.
Okay, I got it confirmed. Greg Bedard from Boston Sports Journal, which is definitely reputable, confirms that one. So Sony Michel's the pick. We got a Georgia sweep for the Patriots.
Here's the big thing now, though. With New England's pick in, and assuming Philly doesn't deal out of 32, this opens the door for the Giants and Lamar Jackson at the second pick of the second round.
It more than opens the door. It's going to be there because Cleveland's not going to pick Lamar Jackson.
Well, we're assuming that Cleveland also doesn't trade. I'm leaving doors open for somebody moving in.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for all the talk that there was about the Giants had to pick a quarterback at 2, okay, now all of a sudden they have Saquon, and they can get a Lamar, or if they prefer, a Mason Rudolph in the second round.
How about this? What if the Giants decided to grab Harold Landry if he's still there?
I think that's a great move. I mean without Pierre Paul, that was something I was mocking the Giants to trade out of the second pick and get Landry one of the 2 Bills picks. I think that's a great move in the second round.
Well, and the other thing is this: Cleveland could take Harold Landry, and then you've got him teamed with Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that'd be something. Yeah, and again, people were talking about Chubb to the Browns. That would be really impressive for them to get Landry.
So I'll tell you, Brian, if it wasn't for the fact that Hugh Jackson coaches that team, I would really be worried about the Browns more than any team in this division right now if they can pull off getting a Harold Landry with it. And in the future, if they don't keep Hugh Jackson more than half a season, you got to really start to pay attention to Cleveland if they can pull off that at the top of the second round.
Yeah, I mean they've done some good moves, and I think that the biggest thing that keeps me from really being concerned is what you just said. That's Hugh Jackson. As long as he's there, it's just hard to be. You just feel like they'll find a way to screw it up. I think once they get Hugh Jackson out of there, I think it changes things.
All right, next up, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have pretty much everything they need. How about this? I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle tried to trade to 32 because they don't have another pick until 120. And, I mean, they picked a running back that I think is solid, but he's not a first-round pick. I'm not going to go out on a limb there and say it. I could because I've got, like, a huge lead. But, Matt, what do you think?
I don't know. The Eagles could go with Landry because they love just having rotational D-line pieces. I think an offensive skill player would make a lot of sense. Geis is a guy who has been linked to them quite a bit. I think, and once again, Goddard would make a lot of sense to them. It seems a little high to take a second tight end. Yeah, I think Gesicki would work there as well. You're not going to put him in a 3-point stance very often with Ertz there and stuff, so that could definitely make sense. I also think they could go with a receiver. Maybe an Anthony Miller or a Michael Gallup could fit into that mold. I'm gonna say Goddard. The first time I'm actually gonna make the call, and I was the third person to actually make a call.
Trade. Baltimore is now picking at 32.
I told you there'd be a trade, so I just picked
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I think. What do you think?
This is it.
Everybody agree?
I've been saying it for 3 hours, and Baltimore's traded 500 times tonight. So maybe now it comes true.
All right, Anthony, you agree?
Yeah, I think this is going to be Lamar Jackson here.
All right, Brian?
Or it could be. You know what? I'm going to... Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I was going to say Landry.
Okay. I'm going to say
No,
Landry.
I agree. I think it's Lamar Jackson.
I'm going to say Landry.
I think it's Jackson.
I'm going to say Landry just because I like to say Landry. It rolls off the tongue. Really nice. Did everybody pick there?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
Lamar.
Yeah. Well, I got a big lead, so I'm just trying to show off now. But really, Baltimore, every year, they love pass rushers. They fall in love with pass rushers. They're picking us quick. I think it's either going to be Jackson or Landry. You still got the possibility that they're wanting to grab a tight end here also.
I don't know if they really felt the need to move back up into the first for a tight end.
They already got their tight end.
They got Hurst.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They got Hurst. Never mind. Anybody know what Baltimore gave up for that yet?
The Eagles are getting picks 52, 125, and a 2019 second. Ravens get pick 32 and 132.
Okay.
So if it really is Lamar Jackson, do you think at the introduction press conference they accidentally call him Colin Kaepernick?
Why would they do that?
I want to say that they at least did it.
It's Lamar Jackson. It's official.
Is it Lamar Jackson? All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, hopefully.
Well, there
Lamar,
goes.
Hopefully,
there goes
the
my hope.
Yeah, there goes the neighborhood. And not because of Lamar Jackson, but it's Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. Real quick, Brian, what was your take on Baker Mayfield to Cleveland?
I want to like it, but I I just didn't.
Is it because it's
I
Cleveland?
just wasn't feeling it. Partially because it's Cleveland, yes, and partially I just I don't know. I think you could have gotten your quarterback later. I think that there's some things they could have done. I really, was big on Barkley. I think that there's really some things they could have done there a little bit better, but not a bad pick. One I think the fans will like, but I'm just, Mayfield to me is a guy that I really like. He's a winning quarterback, but it almost gives you the feel of a Manziel, and I just don't know that I would have gone that way.
I think he's completely different than Manziel, though. I think he's a lot better quarterback than Manziel. Technically, plus the other thing is this. We don't have the drugs and the alcohol problems, supposedly, and I think there's a big difference between him and Manziel. But I hope you're right, and I hope it completely fails.
Yeah.
But, all right, so we're going to wrap this up. We've been on air for a wonderful 3 hours and 50 minutes right now. Number one, I want to thank Joe Kelly for stopping in when the Bengals were picking. Thank Matt Andruscavage for coming in while the 49ers. Of course, Brian Schmidt with his Pittsburgh Steelers, who we all know and love the Steelers. Yeah, I didn't mean that. You know that, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to say that wasn't what you were saying earlier.
When we look at this, the Dallas Cowboys, Anthony, that's your team. Give me what you think of what the Cowboys did tonight, and then your overall biggest impression from this draft with everybody picking.
I think the Cowboys did an outstanding job getting their linebacker, and on day 2, I think they're going to address the wide receiver position. And overall on the draft, I'm very, very surprised that we've seen this many running backs go. It's a big head scratcher for me, especially the 2 that went. And Penny and Michelle. I thought Michelle would have slipped because of his injury history.
I actually like Michelle, but I think there's better running backs out there. Dan, same questions.
Well, the Giants got Saquon at 2. He's arguably the best player in the draft. Hopefully the O-line can make some holes for him to run. Plus, he gets Jacksonville week 1, so welcome to the NFL, kid. As far as the draft as a whole, I don't think anybody's going to wrap their head around what the Saints did, trading all that to move up for Davenport. Then the Seattle pick for Penny was a head scratcher too. But you saw, I don't know if anybody can knock the Ravens for what they did here. They traded back seemingly 800 times tonight. And in the end, they got a tight end, which we said they needed, and they got their quarterback of the future, all while getting about 500 extra picks.
Yeah, and that's a team that has a lot of holes to fill, so they can do that this year and over the next few years, too, the way this is going. Matt Minich, same thing.
Definitely some interesting stuff that went down here. I think you've got some real good talent rolling over into the second round. You got the Patriots with an early pick in the second round. You still got Mason Rudolph on the board. You still got Harold Landry on the board. And, so that's going to be interesting to see how that goes, because that just basically comes out to a slew of Colts, Giants, and Browns picks basically at the front of the second round. It'd be interesting to see what direction that goes, and bringing in Jackson and Mayfield to the AFC North is absolutely terrifying. It tells me that the Steelers and the Bengals should both be investing heavily in defense and fast linebackers that can spy these athletic quarterbacks.
All right, Brian Schmidt, same thing.
I think really, to me, some of these picks, I think, were the ones. Obviously, we talked about New Orleans pick, Seattle's pick, Pittsburgh. There's some picks that are real head scratchers, but I also liked, I liked some of the picks. Baltimore trading up, getting Lamar Jackson, I thought was a good deal there. Denver, really was a nice deal. Getting Chubb, that was a great deal for them to fall to them. And I'll tell you, Buffalo with Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. Josh Allen and Mason Rudolph to me are two quarterbacks that I really liked out of this, and so I like Buffalo with Josh Allen. I think that was a good pick and a right pick.
Yeah, my takeaway on this is I think the Detroit Lions with Frank Ragnow was a great pick. It broke my heart because I wanted him to go to Cincinnati. And I think you can never go wrong with picking what is the best center in the draft. I think it is probably the most underrated position in football. And I go with, I think it was Anthony that said it earlier, the biggest takeaway I have is the stupidity of the New Orleans Saints. Marcus Davenport is a one-trick pony. He likes to rush the edge. He does not have great hands. He does not have great feet. He is quick. He can run a corner, but he plays with his chest up. And what they gave up to get him is absolutely mind-boggling. I want to thank everybody that listened in tonight. We are almost 4 hours in. Tomorrow night we will have the Inside Boxing Weekly Show with boxing announcer Thomas Triber will join me, John Einreinhofer, and Jeremiah Pricer. I'm sure that maybe Sunday night, Matt, and the other guys, if you want, we can do a draft recap, talk about all the teams. So keep an eye out for that because we may do that also. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Joe Kelly, Matt Andruscavage, Brian Schmidt, Dan Siegel, Anthony Cervino, Matt Minich, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.